What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Mayrand podcast. Today, my guest is Kyle Decker. Kyle is a legendary filmmaker who's been working in skiing for close to 20 years now. His immense resume includes working on some of the most classic Level 1 films, directing 2013's The Wallisch project, working alongside AJ Dakoulas on numerous Good Company videos, and putting out some of the best edits in skiing like the New Era videos, the original Jiberish breck edit, or Tom Wallisch's Real Ski videos. Kyle's contribution to free skiing is gigantic. Last season, he got back in the streets and filmed for two upcoming projects, one with Tom Wallisch and the other with Keegan Kilbride. In this episode, we talked about growing up in Ohio as a skier, joining Level 1, being a part of their golden years, the evolution of ski filmmaking and street skiing, filming this season with Tom Wallisch and Keegan Kilbride, and much, much more. It was an honor to talk with one of free skiing's great filmmaker. Big thanks to the sponsors, Axis Board Shop and Dickens Restaurants, and huge shout out to the patrons on Patreon. Let's go. Mr. Kyle Decker, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Dude, I'm hyped to have you, filming legend, in the pod. I'm hyped.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, man. I've had a lot of pro skiers, but I always want to make sure there's, people from all sides of the industry. So I've had on Felix Ryu, who's a, businessman, photographer. I've had Jeff Thomas, Cam Willis, Brady Perrin. I'm hyped that you're up next.
Thanks. Those are the ones I'm listening to. I listen to, the Brady one, all of them. Like, I love hearing like the perspective of filmers, especially ones that I wasn't a part of that like clicker group, just seeing how things function.
For every episode, I go back, I have a good memory and I've been following you forever, but I always like to go back, go from the start and check out everything someone has done to have ideas and, to be prepared for the episode. God damn, you've been busy, man. There's stuff that go from 2005-ish, from your starting filming days until today. And it's like non-fucking stop, projects after projects, some of the most classic edits we've ever seen. So we would be into a 6-hour-long episode, but I'm hyped to talk stuff with you.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it just started from me being the biggest fan of ski movies to realizing, oh my God, I'm in the middle of this crazy moment in skiing. And then it's just you always kind of just keep going, thinking the party's going to end. And it was just sweet time.
So the first ever memory I have of seeing you involved in something was Realtime. I don't know if it's the same for other people, but for me, Realtime was a big game changer of that's where I got officially hyped on ski movies. I had seen movies before that. I had seen War. I had seen fucking Teddy Bear Crisis. Many movies that are more important for other people, but for me, it was really Realtime. But that's still early in the ski days when you have the whole side of today, from mid 90s to 2025. What was it for you? Because at that point you're with Level 1, you're with the big dogs. What was your version of what got you hyped into filming for ski movies?
I mean, it's the Poor Boys, the 1242s, the the Tenor, the Pep, all those guys. I mean, I grew up skiing in Ohio, which is a random place to get into skiing. And I got my hands on some ski movies. And then you're just shocked that, some of that stuff was happening. And it was a really cool time to kind of follow skiing. And I think since it was a lot, there was so much excitement because it's you just wait for that movie to see who's doing what. And every year I feel at that time in skiing, there was always half the movie was things that had never been done.
Yeah. And Ohio, right now, I had to pull up a map because as a Canadian, Ohio is not really clear in my mind. So you're not really in the Midwest and you're not really on the East Coast either. You're just in an in-between.
Yeah, I guess technically they call it the Midwest. I almost feel it's more of Middle East, but yeah,
right.
It's a in-between, not traditional place to go skiing. My local ski resorts, Boston Mills, Brandywine, and Snow Trails are looking at around 230, 250 feet vertical. So, but just like Quebec, it doesn't really matter. You have a long enough chairlift and you get fired up on a couple jumps or rails and it's kind of the same.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I feel in Quebec, we're kind of saved by the fact that there's a big community that gets everyone hyped. Was there any type of community in Ohio or?
No, we kind of, my friends and I kind of created one. There was a couple skiers like Derek Finn from old Level One movies came from the area, so he was just like that local legend. Everyone was kind of like inspired by, but no, not really. So we just like kind of did our own thing, and then as you do that, you realize, oh, there's a crew down in Indiana, like Freezing Point crew, and then you find out, oh, there's a crew up in Michigan, and then I feel like all the people in the Midwest kind of like end up going to each other's resorts, and then so like there's kind of a cool like way to meet people.
Yeah, it was a broad community of like the northeast states, kind of.
Yeah, we weren't like as connected with like we didn't ever like do a lot of like East Coast trips, so we didn't like link up with that whole like a lot of my friends that I ended up shooting with were from that generation, but I wasn't like I didn't know them until we all moved out west.
Hmm. I know you have kind of a history, or I feel like Real Time is a cool spot where there was a lot of transition in the skiers involved. Like that was the first time Adam DeLorme was in a level one movie. That was the first time Duncan Adams was in a level one movie. Meanwhile, you had some people like Sean Logan, who people knew more in the years after Chris and Devin, but then and Sean is now a filmmaker, and you see, okay, Sean was in the level one movie. Is it possible that your brother was also in Real Time?
So my brother is not Sean Decker.
Okay,
I get that so much.
okay, so that's my bad then. So I
No,
assume you guys were related.
no, I get that a lot. And just to clarify, like Real Time was actually a year I was brought in as a summer production intern that was kept down in the basement to edit as much stuff as possible. And Berman, he really prides him and Friedel like that was their film. So I don't think I actually touched any editing on the movie. I think they let me edit the credits, but where I like really started to I really wanted to show what like I wanted to do. So I made just a ton of bonus features, which for people that don't know what that is, there's a thing called a DVD, and there used to be like extra features, but so it was like little edits and same like Instagram clips essentially. And
Mm-hmm.
like I'm just like coming from making Ohio films to like here's a hard drive with like you want to play with some Liam Downey footage, you want to play with some Keystone like Corey Vanuler footage, and I'm just like, holy shit, this is like
The
it's like
dream.
crack. So like I did that, and yeah, and then
So for that, I kind of remembered that you were, that's how you got your start, and I think I heard that. So that year, 2007, you were filming for Rage Films. Is it possible?
yeah, so I did the internship,
Yeah.
and then with Level One, and then I got a job offer from Dan Narkunis over at Rage, and super honored to have that. And I didn't really like have much of a plan because my Ohio movies, I was kind of moving out west and figuring out where I was going to be. I took that on, and it was like mostly like me, Hornbeck, and Tim Russell was kind of like my crew, and we shot a ton that year, edited that movie, and then that summer I got a call from Berman when I was actually in the Rage offices, and he said, "Hey, Friedel's not going to be around to." Actually, that maybe rewind. Friedel's not going to be. That's where Real Time came in. Friedel's not going to be around to edit the film. Do you want to wait? Do you, no? It was long story short. Maybe I did the bonus features, and then Real Time. Maybe I did some. That's right. I did some editing for Real Time. I'm getting lost here, and because Friedel wasn't around in the summer, and then I kind of said, well, yeah, I'll do it, but like if I'm jumping ship, like what's the chance you can hire me on as like a filmer? And he said yes, and it was like that's where I always wanted to be. I had a blast like shooting for Rage, awesome opportunity, great learning curve, but I think like the level one skiers, like that was just like where I wanted to be. So it was like
Mhm.
crazy to.
So just maybe a bit of context. Rage was another production company at that time that were doing it big. You have more the inside of it, so maybe you can go deeper. But to me, it seemed like they were doing legit movies that were super good. They had a lot of young guys that would end up being influential, like Gus Kenworthy at some point, and Ian Costco and Joe Schuster and other big guys. So
I might have missed this. I hope I don't misquote on this, but I believe that's where Sammy first started, who he first started shooting with. But I
Okay.
might want to fact check me
'Cause-
on that. But
mm,
yeah, they did like they had like different they had like their big mountain crew that always went up to Alaska, and then yeah, there was like what Tim Durkee,
they had really cool park shoots.
yeah.
So yeah, it feels like it was like the not to be demeaning in any way, but it was like the B leagues where if someone wanted to prove himself to go with Poor Boys or Level One, they had to like kind of film segments with those other companies to kind of prove themselves because there was no other way. That was kind of the way to go.
I think that's a good way to put it, and that like kind of sat on my shoulders a little bit shooting there because it was we were like kind of wanted to prove, hey, this isn't this isn't that, but at the end of the day, I did the same thing. Like I went on to level one, and I think like back then there wasn't as many opportunities to like put out like a proper ski segment, and this was that that was an opportunity you can get in, and
Hmm.
I think a lot of people took it.
Yeah, and I feel like the equivalent for Poor Boys, let's say, was Theory 3. I probably told to Jeff also, but Jeff Thomas, when like Jeff Thomas switched with Poor Boys, he brought in a lot of boys like Charlie Yeager and Dane Tudor, who ended up being like big stars for Poor Boys for a couple of years. So it was like I don't
Yeah,
know, kind of a way to go about things on those days.
that's exactly what it was, and that yeah, I used to love watching those Theory 3 movies, and you'd watch the athletes grow into Poor Boys films. They're kind of like sad, like you know, more of like both those companies. Like I feel like everyone always had their eye on a prize above of like TGR, MSP, Matchstick, Level One. Poor just like there was those main like six movies or whatever that everyone was trying to get in on.
And now it's time for a first sponsor break. Decans is a family owned fast food restaurant chain in the Montreal region with 14 locations now. 70 years after opening their first location on Montreal's Boulevard Pineuf, Decans is still focused on what matters most, the same menu with great food made out of quality ingredients. I've said it, I'm a Decans super fan, and many people ask me what's my go to. It's their famous Wally burger, a double cheeseburger with slices of pepperoni on top. It's so good. Also, Dickens is now selling their famous sauce in their restaurants and in many Metro grocery stores throughout Quebec. Plus, they've put a bunch of great recipes to go along with it on their website at dickansauce.com. Also, big news, they've recently opened 2 new locations on the south shore of Montreal, one in Belleuil and one in Boucherville. Support companies who support skiing, support Dickens restaurants.
Feel like that was it. TGR, Matchstick, Level One, Poor Boys. Am I missing something? Maybe Field for the
I was just gonna
Scandinavians.
say Field.
Field.
Yeah, Field is huge in Scandinavia, and they brought huge production value. And
I always felt like they were so underrated. Like I would always buy their films, and it was so fucking top notch on every
Mhm.
level. And then I talked to people on the East Coast, and they'd be like, "Oh, I don't know." I was like, "Dude, you got to watch this."
Yeah, I've been on a few trips with those guys, and they're super fun crew. And I imagine that's why like probably what attracted a lot of people to shoot with them, or they always got the cam. Wallisch always wanted to do a cam. There was a year I think he did a cameo with him every year for a few years, and they always did those epic, Fogafano or Norwegian park shoots in the middle of the summer.
Ellie shoots, fucking red cameras or whatever at a time when no one really was on that tip yet.
They were so ahead of the curve on production value. And Wallisch and I joined when we did Wallisch Project. We went out there and collabed on a park shoot. Shots went in their movie, shots went in Wallisch Project. But I mean, we never would have been able to do a solo Norwegian park shoot with a helicopter and Reds, and teamed
Yeah.
up with like Philip and made it happen. But it was so funny. Like I've never like shot in the summer in Norway, and I am just like the light's perfect, and there's like top notch snowboarders, skiers, epic jump, and I'm like everyone's sitting there eating lunch. I was like, dude, let's go, like get like, and then they're like, no, 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 this is like it's gonna be like this for like 6 hours, and I'm like, wait, so. Because in the U.S. you have like a 1 or 2 hour window of like magic hour, like fire, 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 and I was like so anxious, which I can be shooting like let's go, let's go, and then it's like oh yeah, it just keeps getting better, and it's a never-ending sunset. So that place is special.
That's sick. Yeah, and I don't know where it was, but on some judging panel, I was talking about Evan Sigstad, who is someone I feel like the new generation doesn't even know about, but who was so fucking technical on street and did a lot of stuff that I think the conversation was someone talking about a rail in Norway and talking about a certain trick, and that guy was like, "Yeah, Evan Sixstad did that in 2011."
Yeah,
Like he was doing some 1-footers that these days are trendy. He was doing that on a street line on back-to-back rails. Something really technical, and it's kind of a shame because since it was not online and it's DVDs, it's kind of lost. But that guy was so fucking good, and he was also directing the movies at the same time.
yeah, he's a good shooter. Wallisch, I think he always throws his name out there as like one of the best rail skiers, and I feel like yeah, definitely flies under the radar, but super technical and like really dialed in the back end. I think he's like second shooter to Philip for the all the production as well.
Yeah, that's insane.
Crazy follow cams and all that.
Yeah. So just to get back on our train of thought, yeah, we were talking about real time, about you getting into all of that, getting into the ski industry per se. You being, I think what you said is awesome, like you being asked to do some DVD bonuses, playing with some Hornbeck shots and stuff. And you were like, yeah, for sure. Or no, not Hornbeck, but anyway, some pro guys. So, and you were saying DVD bonuses are a thing. I feel like these days, a lot of the extra content that comes from movies is like you go on YouTube and you put the movie in raw shots. So instead of being the cut, it's something 3 times as long and it's just behind the scenes kind of cut out. I feel like that's the equivalent nowadays. But yeah, DVD bonuses used to be a fucking thing where like all we have to watch is the movie on DVD and then get hyped with whatever you guys had enough time to put together. How much effort were you putting, from the real time days to whenever DVD stopped? How big of a energy were you keeping for those DVD bonuses back in the days?
I mean, it was probably that was like the peak, but then like still because there wasn't, let's say the first year I was shooter and editor was Turbo.
Yeah.
There's so much cutting room floor stuff, and nowadays it's like drop it on Instagram, B clip, but
Yeah.
like you just like it kind of would like die if it didn't end up in the bonus features. So I always loved doing it. I always loved oddly skill that goes nowhere in life anymore, but is like making the DVD menus. I always like love building the menus and doing cool stuff and making hidden sections, which I think every single level 1 movie I've been, or even before, almost most level 1 DVDs have like some hidden bonus sections,
Right.
which
Or
is Easter eggs.
that's awesome. Yeah, I know level 1 for so long. We're like making fun every summer, being like, "Oh, we have a hidden link to the trailer on our website."
Yeah, that was Berman's special. That was good.
But there was actually hidden spots on the menus.
Yeah, it's like go up, up, down, down, left, right, because you just build all these fake button patterns off screen, and
that you can't see when you're actually using it.
And man, just thinking about that, like the times of how much excitement came behind a movie trailer. I don't know if it's like there's some insane trailers out now, but just the buildup of like not seeing any ski content. And that was the thing. It's like hold back, like barely only show like the close homies. Like look at this clip that like, Hornbeck got, but like you can't let it circulate. You can't let that clip go. So no one really knows what's out there. And then like, so the amount of effort and time people put into trailers was like, pretty awesome.
I remember personally having made trailers in those same years. I think I had put more effort into a trailer than the movie, almost, because the only way you got hyped was the trailer. That was it. There was no Instagram. There was no, there was New Schoolers. And what did you put on New Schoolers? The trailer. That was it. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I'm preparing for the episode again. I was rewatching some Rage trailers, and it brought me back to the hype when I was 15. Like, so fucking good.
Yeah.
Do you have some specific trailers in mind from the days that are like your favorite ones?
Let's see. I mean, Sunny, maybe. I mean, I'd have to watch them again, but they all kind of have their own. There's not one that stands out more than the other. I bet if I watched them again subjectively, I'd be like a little more of a critic on the songs used. But at the time, like each song used is like part of your like feel or energy.
I think my first one that pops into my mind is a Refresh with the, I don't remember the name of the song, but I have it in mind.
Aiko.
Aiko, but remixed a bit with like a hip hop beat.
Yeah.
And the all-star crew going ham. I was like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah, for me, that's when like Turbo was like getting my feet wet, getting like clicked in with Wallisch. That was the first year we kind of shot a full season together, 2007. And like the, Hornbeck, Amet, Wallisch, like just like getting that like what ends up being the new era crew.
Yeah.
And Refresh, like getting like everyone together, and then Refresh was just like I feel like everything clicked. I mean, I still think you could argue Refresh was like one of the golden years, because you just had everyone fully committed. Like,
before everyone went off years later. Yeah.
Yeah. Every year, maybe somebody is injured or somebody does, Phil or Henrik do some projects on their own, and, everyone eventually kind of disperses and do their own thing here and there. And it was just like, I feel like everyone was just like all in. That's like when the Tall Tee came out, and everyone's just like wearing this, just like some of those, some of the outfit choices, if you watch like the Refresh Mammoth Park segments, is hilarious to watch now, but back then it was like really cool.
A lot of the colorful stuff kind of feels weird these days, but I still dig it.
No, it's funny.
You said something super cool about the new era, and it's something that it's like a side project that you did with a lot of the Refresh shots that is called New Era, and it just dawned on me. I watched a lot of those movies this season for whatever reason, Long Story Short and Realtime and Turbo, and that's a thought I had rewatching those. That was like, holy shit. Not to be demeaning against anyone in Long Story Short. I love that movie also, but the level went up in Turbo. Like, no doubt about it. And then again, it goes to what you said. It was a new era all of a sudden. It feels like, I don't know if it was a natural timing, but you see the shots in real time, and then you have Wallisch's segment in Turbo, and you're like, holy shit, the street game just changed from here.
Yeah.
You go from people doing certain types of tricks on rails to Wallisch doing 2P2s on down flat downs. And you're like, we just stepped into a new realm.
Totally. And even like back to the Rage, I think a segment that probably, I don't even know if it's online, but Rage, Ahmet Dadali segment had so many never before done tricks at the time. And I feel like that generation just came out swinging with these like tech tricks or different ways to do things. And then obviously Wallisch is his own animal on like, changing the game. And then I think it just elevated the game. And I don't even think it's like a level one thing like that. It's not, I don't think it was Turbo, but I think it was like the industry around the 2006, 2007, maybe into 2008 was just like a total, lack of a better word, refresh of like, not that like what happened before. It was just like taking the fundamentals of what you learned from the generations in the past and like building on it, just like crazy.
Totally. But yeah, it feels like what Wallisch did, and Hornbeck and Amet and Henrik was, let's say, a year or two later, but all those guys, Henrik, Phil, Hornbeck, Amet, Wallisch, just meant, okay, whatever was done in the years before, now it doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
All the level has now to be 1, 2, 3 steps above.
Yeah. I mean, Henrik in that mix as well. Like he came in, he was like 16 years old or 15, maybe, when we started shooting for Refresh. He came out to Michigan, and I don't want to say was, because he still is probably the biggest fan of skiing I've ever met in my entire life. But the thing is that like love has never changed. But he came out like, was just like, I think it was just like like a mini McHale, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he just came out with like, I feel like all those people came out with like something to prove and just came out swinging and fed off each other.
I think the shot that I remember from Henrik was, um, we had seen shots from him beforehand, him in the park and all that. When he came in, he was doing some, switch 14s, and you knew he was the next shit, but you hadn't seen him in the streets. And then he joined you guys for a street trip in Michigan, and you guys posted a tease where he does a 2-on onto like a 6 kink rail or whatever, like a steep rail. That at that point, no one would think of doing a 2-on to that, and you guys just teased the 2-on.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was like, okay, Henrik he's that guy.
Yeah. What's funny is the reason he came on that trip is not the reason, but I was in Michigan shooting with like Hornbeck and Amet, and like my camera broke, I think. And I called Berman, and he's like, well, rather than ship it out, why don't Friedel's here. Why don't I just send Friedel out? He's skiing at Breck or at Keystone. He happens to be like with Henrik, and Henrik's like, well, can I come? And he's like, yeah, come on. And he came, and he didn't even have a passport. Like all he had was a ski pass, and like used his ski pass to travel all the way to all the way over to Michigan with Friedel, and like just came out like, yeah, he was definitely something. He was a force that year, and has been ever since.
Yeah. And now it's time for another sponsor break. Axis Board Shop has been dedicated to free skiing since its inception in 2002. At a time when some people and brands were still looking down on free skiing, Axis believed in it fully. After 20 years of supporting athletes, movies, competitions, events, and so much more, Axis is still going strong. Above all, Axis is a ski shop where you'll find everything you need for skiing, snowboarding, or skateboarding. Check them out in store in Saint-Sauveur or online at axisboutique.com. Support companies who support skiing. Support Axis Board Shop. How was it for you getting your let's say around those years turbo refresh? It's your first time, you got your job with Level 1. You're officially like part of the program, and you're filming with what will become the greatest. How was it? Like, was there any pressure, or were you just like, oh, it's my buddies, we're doing our thing, not really overthinking it?
I feel like at the time we all felt like we still had something to prove to, like, back when what we were saying about the old generation. Like, I don't think we fully knew that like this was going to become the next phase of like the guys. I think we were all trying to like prove that we even belonged in the conversation, and we were like honored to be there. So like, I don't think we knew at the time. I certainly didn't. Like, I knew it was a very, very special crew.
Yeah.
But I still always look back and like, I am so fortunate, or like not even like so honored to like work with that set of people that year. Like throw Delorme into the mix. It's just like, it's an insane crew. And like, you almost took it for granted because everyone was there.
It's funny how you say you guys felt like you had something to prove, like having the duality of perspective. Because for me, as a watcher and as a fan, being a teenager at that time, there was zero thoughts of, oh, you guys still have to prove yourself. Like, and I feel like that was the same thing for a lot of the community. Was no, those guys are the shit. They are the standard. Even though Wallisch had been in the game for a year and a half, it was still like, no, he is the gold standard.
Yeah, maybe it's like not something just as much to yourself, like to prove yourself you're doing like 110%, or like maybe it's like I'm now inserted in this place that was a dream for me when I lived in Ohio. Like, don't fuck this up. Like go 110% in, like, yeah, it was pretty awesome. And it was like fun. Like, we're all young. We have like, it's not like we had like enough travel budget to go around the world and play with your friends in the backcountry and in the streets. And then there's a park shoot at the end of the year where everyone gets together and parties. So pretty sweet thing.
That's something I was really hyped to get your insights on, is how much the film business has changed, where these days it's more solo project with a writer. He hires a filmer for a season. That's the end of it. There's not really any continuity aside from, maybe like the Magma boys who have their their crew, Hunter and Ahal
Mhm.
and Owen, and they keep working year after year. But there's not the production company,
Mhm.
where it felt like Poor Boys or Level One had an actual team of employees and a real business that was running. How was it back in those days in terms of, without going into too nitty gritty of details, but just how was it the employee life of living, of making a living for a film production company focused on free skiing? Like, seems saying that into 2025 is like, oh shit, that was actually a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a dream. I mean, a living it was just like a way of, now that I'm like a little bit disconnected from it, I look back and I'm like, wait, so like the beginning of December, you just start looking at a map where the snow falls.
Mm,
You go with your friends, get it done within reason, and you're just like traveling the entire winter and then come back and edit for several months like and then the premiere tour, which was the icing on the cake, because you get to go all stops all over, Annecy or Montreal and go to the real big premieres and actually like see everyone appreciate the fruits of your like hard work. And that doesn't exist like anymore. Like, right now I also do stuff in the tech world, and it's not like I make a video and then everyone like gets around at like, you don't get like a company meeting where everyone watches the movie and they're like,
yeah.
yeah. It's just like, I mean, and you're making these videos for your peers or who happen to be at those premieres. So it was just like a culture, and like it was just like the best way of life. And I didn't even like, kind of always wondered like what's going to happen after this is done. A little bit nervous, like was I making the best like career decision? Everyone
Mhm.
says you go to school, you go to college, which I dropped out of, and then I was following this thing which was my passion, but there wasn't like a very clear um, transition out of it. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe I'll just do this forever. Like there's some snowboard filmers that like, they've done it a little bit longer and they're still doing it. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the college dropouts that we've seen in skiing, at least in the filmmaking side, have all been some pretty big successes. Like, I might be mistaken, but I think most of the step boys dropped out of college
Hmm.
pursuing step, but then look at them now.
I mean, those guys are wildly, uh, successful and still like equally. I've been on some shoots with them, equally as passionate as like a street project, and you know, 10 years, 15 years ago, like.
Yeah.
But those guys, I think, are like the biggest example of like success from like these street filmers to like. I'm surprised they haven't done a Super Bowl commercial, but like I think I just saw something online that they're going to be shooting some stuff for like the Sphere in Las Vegas, and it's just insane. Like
Yeah.
they're all just like they're scrappy and they work their ass off and know what
Yeah.
they're doing.
They got their college degree in filmmaking by shooting street at night in Boston.
Yeah,
That's just saying that is so inspiring.
I saw Martini a couple weeks ago, and I mentioned distinctly remember after I have three in Montreal being in the lobby where all the athletes were staying. His dad, I was just small talking with his dad, and he's like, "Yep, came to another ski movie premiere. Got to watch my son Alex ski naked into a lake. Things are going well." Like, and I'm like, just I always think about that. I think his dad actually came to a dinner that night with us, and I was just like, just so funny the perspective, because his dad was probably you kids like kind of burning cash, like breaking even maybe if you're lucky, like I'm sure I think he's a
Mhm.
businessman in the construction world. He's probably like, this doesn't add up, like what's your guys' next step? And now like I'd imagine, I mean,
Yeah.
just the success of just keep grinding at like what you love, and that's a perfect example of keep grinding at what you love, and like your career is going to find you.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's a long-term vision that you lack when you're young, but maybe for the best.
Yeah.
Because if you have that too much of a long-term vision, that's where college goes into play. And I got to stick into college for a 20-year plan that I don't even have yet.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you're right, if you let it lead you, it's going to lead somewhere. Like, I want to get onto it later in the pod, but you're doing a lot of projects that are really far off from skiing now, but you're making a career out of it
Yeah.
by letting one thing lead to another, and now.
Yeah, I mean, towards the end of I made the Good Company films with AJ and Wallisch, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I'm trying to think, after Guest List there was a time where I stepped away and like pursued a little bit of freelance, I think because I wasn't like traveling for 6 months. I think I just got married, and traveling 6 months a year was like, I wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
be home more. And then let's see, 2020, I had my daughter Skylar, and then a year or two later I had son Weston. So that kind of kept me away from like following skiing. So I started doing more like corporate,
Yeah.
production stuff. And it was really, I moved to California in 2020, and it was Bay Area, and it was a tough transition for me because like my entire life was skiing, like my friend community, my like my work, and then I moved. It was inserted into this like Silicon Valley like culture, which is drastically like different than anything I knew. So like it used to be so easy to meet a friend where it's like, oh, you ski, you snowboard,
Mm-hmm.
you mountain bike, let's go hang out, let's get a beer. So I really had to like, I feel like I almost start from scratch in terms of my career to like find out where I'm gonna fit into this next step, with still like leaning on like some of the previous like clients or projects. Like I always continued to still work for X Games and stuff like that, to like, I always had a thing, even if I took a year or two down, like I have to be involved with at least like one ski project a year, just to like feed the soul. Like I don't care, like whatever it is. I don't even need to get paid, or just like I gotta stay involved. So
Yeah. So now you're in the Bay Area. Where were you based in the prime, let's say, of the level 1 days, and from 2008 to 2018, let's say, what was your...
So prime level 1 days, we were all in Denver. Level
Okay.
one had we
Yeah.
were in Berman's house, then we had an office. And then when I did Wallisch project, I moved out to Utah and lived out there till I moved here. So I was in Park
Yeah.
City.
Right. And what was the move to get out of Utah?
Uh, having a family and being closer to family.
Okay.
Like,
makes sense.
Yeah,
Got to do what you got to do.
for sure. But I love it here. We still have Tahoe 3.5 hours away, and it's good living.
How is that? Do you get to do some real skiing on your end, or...
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like I'm almost like, there's times where I almost like, when I'm deep in the ski movie thing, like you almost get, I don't want to say burn out, because that's like, but you lose your own like personal spark for it, because it's just
Mhm.
so associated with like getting shots, getting tricks. Like you don't go out on a POW day as much, because you're going to be with somebody that you probably want to get a shot on a POW day. So like, I feel like I almost started to love snowmobiling as much or more than skiing, because like you could rip around in the POW. But now like I totally like, I actually just mounted a pair of Armada, some of those White Walkers, and I'm going up to Tahoe tonight to go skiing tomorrow, and I love it. Like it's
Nice.
incredible.
Yeah, that's sick. I feel like I get the same feeling when it's hard to enjoy it, because personally, and it's probably the same for you, I have big reflex of, oh, I'm with a friend who's super good. Let's get some clips, which again, I love it. So I'm not complaining, but as a filmer, you're so ingrained in that mindset that if I am skiing, I need to get some clips. You kind of forget to actually enjoy it.
Totally, and you're just, yeah, and you almost want to break from it. The other thing that's not talked about as much is like the obsession with like the skier or filmer with checking the weather, snow coverage maps, avalanche, like just like there's so many factors. Like, and we all know like the top skiers that anyone follows is they're psychos about like tracking snow from 18 different websites. Or, and the other thing is like I think about like Wallisch is like probably could work for Google to be under, for like Google Maps. Like some of these, just the amount of time you spend on like Google Street View to find street spots, or like just the obsession over like finding that next spot, finding out where the snow is going to be best, finding out like
Mm-hmm.
the logistics. Because as a filmer, you're kind of responsible for taking the lead on it, or was. I think it's changing a little bit, but like since it used to be, filmer and, 3 athletes and sometimes a photographer, you definitely would like work collectively with the skiers, but you had a responsibility on like, yeah, we're gonna go to Whistler, let's do it. And like, I, it was stressful. Like you go to Whistler. I've gone to Whistler with Wiley from Cook City, where I believe the weather got skunked, and we drove all the way back to Cook City, and then came back to Whistler. It's just like all those like other logistics are insane. Like I just shot with Keegan in Michigan, in northern Michigan, and he drove like probably 20, I don't know, let's say 15, 20 hours from
Yeah.
New York City just to get a couple shots. And like,
Dude, he is an animal.
you know, nobody even know he's an animal. He just like gets in the car and just like, and he's just not afraid to like send it to like get a couple extra clips.
And that's what makes him special, I feel like, because a lot of street skiing is not about talent as much as it is about like grit and motivation and, you know, some things that you can't buy. Like he was telling me a story last time I had him on the pod about him checking Google webcams or, you know, whatever webcams in Minnesota to see if there was still snow at a spot, and then driving from Maine back and forth just to get that one clip.
I remember hearing that, and that is, I don't know of anyone that's like,
I wouldn't do that. Like I'd be, okay, are we doing a week-long trip? No, well then fuck that. Like I'm motivated not that much. He was like, yeah, I like driving.
But he also like, you know, we're just saying he got a clip, but you're, you know, forgetting to mention it was probably like one of the best street clips that's ever happened, and was like the talk of the town, probably one of his best clips. So like, he's somebody, I'm sure anyone who listens to this podcast just like really focuses on like quality over quantity. And for him, like his segments are just like absolute A plus 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 plus, and take all the rest and just push it off to the side. Like,
yeah,
pretty insane.
That's something I had talked a bit about him about, let's say the day's not going too well and that I would maybe settle for a B spot and just try to be productive. You know, my mindset is trying to do something, and his was more like, nah, let's not waste energy. If it's a B spot, fuck that. We'll find an A for tomorrow. I was like, okay, well, fair enough. That sounds, that's how you get something done that's valuable also.
Yeah, I felt like I learned from him. I love shooting with, you know, new people. That was the first time I shot with them. I learned from him in that, like, having that mentality. He's like so mellow and calculated at the same time, and I think all his energy is like internal. And like, I love that, because I come from the generation where it's like, we got time, we got lights, let's get 3 different features a day with 3 people. It's like, just stacking absurd amounts of clips. And he's just like, nah, let's like, he had this like really precision to like what he knew he wanted out of his skiing. And like, it felt kind of chill, because we didn't shoot anything at night, and we were just like getting up early and going to bed at a decent time. But like, he just knew exactly what he wanted, and we consistently got 1 A grade clip, you know, a day. And I'm like, wow, that was like chill. Like, you know, it was really weird for me to like, there was one feature we spent 3 hours shoveling like a landing, and he gets it like pretty quickly, and it's like around 1, and we're just like, you know, let's focus on what we're going to do tomorrow, maybe do some building. But like, it wasn't like, let's shoot till it gets dark. He's just like, I'm good. But like, it's probably why his body's able to like handle some of the crap, like, you know.
And you're right. That's really an evolution I've noticed. I was the same as you, like going at a spot, being 3-4 riders hitting it at the same time. No precise plan on what the trick was. It was just like, we're going to session it all day. We'll get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clips. We'll see in the spring what it does. And now with Matt, who is kind of similar to Keegan in a lot of ways, this season doing a gnarly spot, he gets it inside 4 tries. So it's like a lot of time, 90% of the time now is like getting it right so that he doesn't get hurt, because it's so gnarly. And then we get it done.
Yeah, it's like I think the knowledge just continues to evolve a little bit. Like you could probably take like whatever my generation of crew I worked with, like learned so much from the past, but also like really improved like
Mm-hmm.
the workflow or like how things just like operate or like what they knew their body was able to do. Like,
Yeah.
and like it continues to evolve. Like it's crazy. Like thinking like way back in the day when you used to film with homies, like watching somebody hit a rail was dangerous. Just like you forget like what a professional skier's best. Like Tom Wallisch is the best. He has his skill set. He is the best at like knowing when to not push something, know when not to hit something, and is the best stair skier in the world. But means nothing to anyone because you never
Mm-hmm.
see those shots. But like just being smart about like your body and knowing where your limits are is like, and Wallisch has that. I saw Keegan has that. So maybe that's like something that really people need to take note on as a skier. Like,
I think that's something I've said many times on here, but again, we'll say it again. A big part that we don't realize, I think, for people like Wallisch, Clayton, Keegan, who have done top-notch segments year after year, is to do those, you have to not get hurt consistently. And street skiing is not so much about getting the shot, but as not getting hurt. Because in those 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 tries, there's always a risk of you getting fucked.
yeah.
So if you manage, like a Keegan that has been doing it since 2016, let's say, to never get hurt in the streets, that says a lot about self-awareness and, judgment calls on those shooting days. Self-preservation is key.
For sure.
But you had a good segue when you talked about shooting with Wallisch and how, they brought stuff and evolved it to a next level. You shot with Wallisch for the first time in 2008, and now 2025, you had to come back this season shooting with him for a project. How was that?
It's incredible. Like he's one of my best friends. So like we always kind of talk every year. He's like, dude, we got to get you back out there. You need to be back out there. I'm like, all right, let's go. But I kind of wanted to wait until like, it was the right timing and, yeah, Monster, supported a project we worked on where, in Toronto and, got the chance to, go out there and, shoot with Wallisch again.
Yeah, I think that was such a cool time for Wallisch because we were together at APIC, the rail jam in Mississauga, and I'm stoked I got Wallisch to compete. So
yeah,
I don't know. I saw some things online, but I think it's so awesome to have someone legendary like that compete in an open comp where anyone can go and compete against Wallisch. I think just the idea of it is so sick, and then he gets there and gets a podium.
Yeah, seeing that guy hold a check was pretty awesome. And we actually had a plan to do, we were going to go to like the Northeast with him and meet up with Keegan. And Wallisch is just like on cloud nine from that rail jam. And he's like, dude, people are showing me so many spots. There's so much snow. I hate to do this. We're changing the flight to Toronto. So me and Josh Bishop was the other one from Monster that flew out there. So we changed our flights like right away, like no question. And it just like, yeah, I forget how massive Toronto is and how much I love being in Canada.
Yeah. And at least in skiing, it's so untapped because people go to Minnesota, people go to Quebec or to Ottawa, and Toronto has a lot less snow in general. But then it got dumped. And I think with you guys, it led a party that lasted a month where it seemed like every crew was filming in Toronto for a bit.
I feel like it was because of that rail jam. You bring like all the best, or, some of the best like ski and snowboard riders, and they all got the same treatment Wallisch got. They're like, holy shit, we love it here. There's an insane amount of snow on the ground, like record snow probably. And people are just feeding us spots. Like, let's keep this party going.
So how did the trip go? How was it for you going back in the streets with Wallisch, who is one close friend that you've worked with for a long time, but also getting in the streets, as you were saying, after a big break, kind of?
Yeah, last trip I was on 2019 for Romance. We did a trip with Wallisch, Phil and Hornbeck, and Bishop to Minnesota,
That
which
was
was
my favorite segment of the movie. That was so good.
awesome. I mean, it was similar feelings to that. Like, I don't think anything like it's like riding a bike. Like I feel like day one, I just like felt like I was back where I belong. You know, you spend your whole life, or
Hmm.
adult life, like building these very niche, like weird little like skill sets that like don't apply anywhere else. And you're like, yes, let's go. Like, you know, like all these like little nuances, and just like I miss the camaraderie of like driving around in the car. Like you realize like, so these guys that I've shot with over the past years are like your best friends because you've spent, no one like drives around the distances you drive or driving around city than you do it on these kind of trips. So like you really get to connect with your homies. You get to eat good food in like a new city. Like I think like shooting street, some people like think it's weird or think it's different, but like I love it. It's like I think it's the best way to see a city because you're like in the streets mingling with everyone. You're
Did you see your filming style evolve? Did you notice anything of, the 5-year gap? You evolve as a filmmaker, you do different types of contracts for different types of client. Do you think we're going to see a different Kyle Decker in how you approached it?
Yeah, I think a filming style did evolve, and I thought about that going into it because like I don't want to change or like what what my style was. I think because a lot of people, and I was guilty of it as well. Like I really like to be like unapologetically like my style. A lot of the style has changed in filming these days, and like I don't know. I'm not trying to like adapt to do whatever like the cool new trend is. Like I'll respect the rules of like, you know, how a skier wants something shot. But in terms of anything else, like I want to apply like just whatever, however I do it. Like I found the
Mhm.
first couple days I was trying to like catch up with like all this new shit that's going on. I'm like, no, like I'm just good at doing me. Like I'm not gonna like, you know, follow some new format or like, but yeah, it was fun. Like I have, you know, they're fancier, snazzy cameras that like do a lot of things that are a lot easier than it was, you know, back in the day. My angles, the trip was like shot purposely, like untraditionally, a little different, which kind of inspired me. It wasn't like go out and get straight action. It was kind of like get good coverage of the environment with the skiing as like
A background?
yeah, background into it almost. But like, I mean, it ended up being like action clips. So I tried to like, you know, find stylized shots or show like, you know, Wallish's big thing is he loves like accessibility of skiing in a city and just like, so I try to like trap into that a little bit and just like, I don't know, get some cool, unique angles that like he was getting fired up because we've shot so many things together. We've done every format, you know, but he was like, I don't want any talking in this. I was like, yes, I love it. He's like, I will not talk to a camera. I'm like, love it.
Yeah, because for people who may not be aware, all of Wallish's career, or let's say the vast, vast, vast majority, is linked to you.
Well, he's done a lot with, you know, AJ Dakoulas and
Yeah, well, 4x9, but I
yeah,
mean, the Level 1 days were mostly with you.
yeah,
The Wallisch project was with you, and Good Company was you and AJ
yeah. I mean,
Dakoulas.
he's had like, just to tip it back, like he's had so much to do with who I am. And like, I mean, he made me kind of push to go freelance by myself. I go freelance, do Wallisch project through his wife, Steph. I met my now wife, Jess. Like I'm now like, just like, we're just like so interconnected, and he's like really pushed me to like, and gave me opportunities. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I got some opportunities that were like the golden egg for,
And Israel ski videos also that you shot together.
yeah, that's one of my favorite videos I shot with him.
And the world record video. I think I
Yeah.
could go on. When I was saying like that, I looked back in your stuff like, holy man.
Yeah, I actually mean to. I don't do as good of a job at like archiving or putting stuff together,
Yeah.
but I've been wanting to like go. I've talked to Berman, and He's like, you're welcome anytime, but I want to go to the level 1 offices for like a week or two and just sit down and dig through the archives and just like, A, just remember all of it for myself, but like B, figure out if there's ways to like repurpose it or show a clip and maybe tell a story behind it, or like there's something behind it, because there was so much happening and I think there was so much focus on
Yeah.
trick that there's like some
Stories maybe
little
missed
stories
out.
behind.
Yeah. Have you seen that video Logan Imlach did for his daughter a few years back?
Mm-hmm.
I feel that I don't know why that one popped back in mind, but I felt like that was such a cool way of repurposing the level 1 shots and like giving it a twist, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm working on some stuff with Mike Hornbeck. Like 2 years ago, a year or two ago, I went out and shot. I went to Michigan at the end of their season.
Yeah.
Just like wasn't really for anything. And I just put like a mic on him and his son and spent 3 days skiing and just like captured the process of like, him making sandwiches for the kids, dropping them off at school, picking them up at school, going to the ski resort. But like, it's just cool to see like him, it's your best friend, watching him like pass on like him ski with his friend. And for me, like his son's like hamming it up for the camera. So like, I'm like, it means a lot to me because I can like, even if this doesn't live anywhere, I know Hornbeck has the raw clips and like just to like document it. So it's like cool to see, especially me having kids now, like watching kind of just that's a whole new formula of like, I'm always trying to find like different formulas of like things to shoot. Try not to stick to one too much, even though it kind of is the same, but
that would be awesome if that ends up somewhere online.
Yeah, I think it's just like what to do with it. We're still kind of playing around.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Sorry, I'm going off the rails a little bit.
No, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
That's so sick. Yeah, it'd be, I think that's something I would want to see. It's hard because everyone moves on with life, but from so many companies, like we talked about Rage and same thing with Poor Boys, I would want to see there's so much gold because again, the format was heavily ski porn with a lot of shots being cut off because what made it in was really the cream of the crop.
Uh-huh.
I feel like there's so much untapped stuff on those hard drives probably that it, but again, you just need someone to take the time. But
Level 1's been doing a good job of like, I feel like they've been digging through the archives on their Instagram.
And to go back to that trip with Wallisch, that's something I like, getting people's perspective on the evolution of how street is perceived. How did you feel anything different in the streets is what I mean, from being in 2025, you being a grown man now and not a young adult or a teen, and also the people's perspective? Have you seen some changes in that?
I mean, as a human, it's like I don't know. I still feel like I'm 20 some years old. It doesn't change, but I think I'm a little bit more like, before I'd be like, you'd break the law to get whatever shot. And I think I'm a little bit more calculated on that, but like still down to like slide things past. But what was the other option? Just as
because, well, I'll tell you something and then want your opinion on it. What I would get a lot 15 years ago was people being mad, people telling us we're going to kill ourselves, a lot of disconnection or, not understanding the culture or whatever.
Like bystanders.
And these days, we had a spot this year and someone from the city is like moving snow. We see him stop next to us and we're like, fuck, we're going to get kicked out. He opens his door and he's like, hey, boys, I do skateboarding. That's awesome. I love what you guys are doing, and moves on.
Yeah, it's definitely more acceptable as a culture. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really think about that. But I mean, I don't think it's like the Olympics. I know everyone would like to say, but like, I just think with social media, people are exposed to stuff more, where like before social media, if you want to see somebody ski down a handrail, for lack of a better term, you need to go watch a movie. So like people aren't exposed to it, but now it just like might pop in. Or the thing I get so much is a lot of people have seen like Wallisch's imagination segment, which is it's probably his most famous segment, the one I wasn't a part of. And like, just, it's so good. And I think we've used that video actually with some universities. He's gotten permission like for a couple of universities where like we'd reach out to him and say, this is the type of skiing I do. This is what we're trying to do. Like, and he'd get permission because it's like easily like understandable. But you know, that video doesn't show like any destruction or rails or paint coming off or like wall rides and as much. It's like just playful people skiing. So
no, you're right. That imagination segment was the one kind of a spin-off on JP's segment, right?
Total.
Yeah. And I think JP's segment from All I Can, is that it?
Yes.
Yeah. That must be the one that I've been shared the most by families or friends that are not into skiing. They were like, hey, have you seen this? It's like, yeah, I've seen it. But it showed me that like, oh shit, it got a broad appeal. I think that segment went viral. Like it was only on Vimeo when it got out in those days, and it got like 2-3 million views. Like it was viral.
And that was kind of, just to like go back to like the culture, that was around the time that it was like getting heavy shot.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, JP's creativity of like, let's try something different, you know, like he always was like, I feel like doing something a little different. I feel like that started a movement of these like one-offs or these like more like stylized pieces or like
conceptual maybe.
Concept pieces. So, but it's funny, like at the time you're just like, there's another video, but then you see the history after, and it does like try to changes the trend a little bit. And people are like, I feel like everyone was trying to do a top to bottom thing, or that was like a trend for a little bit.
Yeah. I think Wallisch got the torch a lot on that, or, you know, got past the torch unofficially, where he did the Baltic ski video where you guys were just going from spot to spot by train or like public transport. And then what else was there? There was one with Kai Krapela, I think, for GoPro, where it was like a school concept, like going out of school. Is it possible?
I feel like Wallisch is always, if you were to like write down all these like random concepts he's been involved with, like, you know, he's done the hardest, you know, I feel like he can do whatever he wants right now in terms of like concepts or features, because it's like, oh, you want me to do the trick that's in your segment this year? Go back 10 years ago and I did it. You're like, you know, he's done so many like little, you know, tricks and things in skiing that like, I feel like he likes to explore like what other parts of it. He doesn't like pigeonhole himself into like, I'm a street skier. And he's like, I think he's super good for the like culture of skiing. Like when you just go to a random ski resort or a place and he gets recognized, like it's awesome. And he's super good with like interacting with people and like sharing that love for skiing and like, you know, being like accessible and just like, I don't know, getting people stoked on skiing.
It was awesome seeing him in Toronto. How much there were some other big names that are younger and you could think would be more appealing to, you know, the general public, but then everyone was over him. Like everyone wanted to meet him and talk with him, and it's awesome to see because he's also hyped to be a part of that and be that guy that, you know, represents free skiing.
Yeah, I thought about this on that trip, but especially Wallisch, because I've drove around with him in the car. You know, we say like you have these deep conversations of like what you want to do with your skiing, or just like you just see like what his goals were back in the turbo year, and like just watching. It's just rad watching like your friends evolve into like this now future version of themselves, and it's like so much bigger and better than like what he probably imagined it would be, and like. You just like, I'm stoked for my friends to like see that, whether it's like, you know, Hornbeck has his path, and you just like seeing your friends like Delorme now, like he's not shooting, I don't know, any at all anymore, but like just watching it now, he's like, you know, skiing with his son, and like just like seeing like who these people evolve as a person, and not like what next crazy trick are they going to do, because there's a limit to that, right? So like you end up being like a fan of their skiing and their who they are, and you want them to like do well, I guess.
Again, I might say that often, but I think it's really dope to see how the longevity has changed for a pro, where Wallisch is still relevant and doing stuff that I'm hyped on. B Dog is leading the charge for the new Armada movie that's going to come out. It's like those guys are past 35 and are still as relevant as ever. So
B Dog's a great example of that. Like, I had seen a couple of his clips, and it's just like, as you still see his clips, like, he's a great version of, like, if he saw where he has evolved to back in the day, like a refresh year, I bet he had no idea you could even ski like at the level he's skiing. Like, he might, yeah, I don't even have words for like the level he's skiing right now. And it's cool because like he's gotten to where he wanted to be. And I wonder if he can even like process. I feel like he's probably already trying to like do the next thing, but it's nice to like sit back and be like, I don't know how much, if you can get much better than Phil, but he like still proves that you can get better than Phil because the next year Phil comes out.
yeah,
It's crazy.
Everything he puts out, you can feel that there was thought put into it to like evolve and step up his game at the same time.
That's a good point. You can definitely feel his, I don't even want to say effort, but his passion for exactly what he wants, how he wants to like ski. I'm sure, like, I haven't shot with him in a while, but like, I'm sure he's like deeply back and forth with the filmer about like exactly how he wants the shot to film from where, and like, you know, just part of every last detail.
To throw you flowers also, I was saying, you've been involved with what to me, and I think many people are the prime years of level one. Others may have some other favorites, but to me, Turbo Refresh, High Trip, Afterdark, Sunny, that is the level one prime years. And then
Thank you.
Wallisch Project, Good Company. You've worked on the real skis. You've worked on, dude. We don't have enough time to, dude.
Thanks.
How do you? Again, you were saying, oh, if Phil was to look back on that as a kid, or if Wallisch was to look back on that as a kid, but what if Kyle was to look back on that as a 20-year-old out of Ohio?
I mean, that's a good call out because I'm always trying to go improve my whatever I'm doing. I'm not happy with where I am now, and like but like the younger version wouldn't even be able to like comprehend all the things. Like, I really like super fucking fortunate to like all the experiences, the shots, the people. Like, I feel like I've lived an insanely like fulfilling life just in that like span of like being a part of all that, and just like having my name associated with it is just like, it's a fucking honor.
What do you think would be like the most thing young Kyle would be hyped on? Because let's say for some people it would be like, oh shit, I think I was talking to P White and his big bucket listing was going to Alaska last year, or for some other people it may be a comp skier, it's winning a medal at X Games. Is there something along the way that young Kyle would be like, oh shit, good job?
I don't know. I mean, I'm really proud of the first Wallisch real skis, and then I would, the other thing I would show young Kyle is probably like New Era, because like that style comes from young Kyle, like that mid 2000s generation of like heavy hip hop influence, and style skiing. So I don't know, but I'm super, I've never really spun that on me, and I'd be real fired up.
Yeah. That's a classic. Like, you have some edits, like those New Eras will always, they keep being posted every 1 or 2 months by different accounts being like, oh, remember those edits? And everyone commenting is like, oh shit, that was my thing.
Yeah. That's probably the video that now, like, some of the young generation that for sure doesn't know me, I might bump into them at like a terrain park. I'd like to believe I can be like, hey, I made New Era, and they'd be like, oh yeah, I've seen that, but yeah, it's
so for people maybe we can go into that for a minute. Refresh was its own movie with different types of skiing, powder, big mountain, park shoots, and street. And New Era was kind of your short movie that was in the bonus, I think, and then online of only the street guys, only street skiing with kind of your hip hop touch that was maybe less grand public than the level one movie would be, and just like hard hip hop with only street shots.
We did have we had DeLorme in there.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's funny, that actually just came from an insane year at level one. And like, I feel like we knew we had something special as accumulating shots. And then we're at Mount Hood for that park shoot. I believe that's the one that Henrik did the dub 12.
That would be Mammoth.
No, the one in Hood, like fully capped, like
Oh,
the
okay,
closing.
yeah.
And that was, yeah, I remember like coming down and the energy from like people watching. That clip was like one of the most like insane park clips at the time. So, and we were all like hanging out at the Hood House is what they called it. And I don't know, we just started throwing tracks down and editing clips. And then we're like, oh, wait, we're kind of making a little, we kind of like made this little bonus movie, but, which eventually made like editing refresh like super easy because we kind of knew how tricks were flowing and going. But yeah, it was just a special year. Like Berman, Friedel, everyone was just like on fire. And I feel like when there's a camaraderie, when all the riders, back to like when I was saying, we were kind of everyone was just clicking, everyone was all in on it. And when that energy is there, like it shows in the video hands down. Like when you just like, if you just like brought in a bunch of athletes because you're like, hey, this guy is sponsored by so-and-so ski company, he's going to be in the movie. And this guy comes from, he's got a spider jacket on, he's sponsored. That life doesn't breathe through in the final product. You need like kind of what I just mentioned, like all the homies hanging out, and or just that camaraderie, and that everything works.
Another edit, just like New Era, that is like a classic, the Jiberish breck edit.
That's funny. That one always comes back up as like,
what do you think it is that makes that one stand out? Because looking at it as a filmer thing, and I think you probably say it in the caption, but that's like a 2-day thing. You're just chilling in breck, but it becomes one of the most classic edits of all time.
It might even been one day around a park shoot. I was just always homies with the Jiberish guys are like, you should make an edit. And I think it was so special. I don't think it has anything to do with like me. I mean, we made like a fun cut to it at the time. Now it's just ridiculous. Like ignorant is what we used to call it.
Yeah.
But like, it was the riders, dude. Like you put, like, and that's when like Brogan was like just popping out, and everyone wanted a taste of like, and you put him in an edit with,
what was Wallisch, it? Delorme, Hornbeck, Wallisch, Brogan.
Yeah. I shot that with Blake Kimmel.
I guess, how does it make you feel when you see like, how that has stood the test of time? I guess.
I don't know. Like I see it a lot in like those like threads about like best edit ever, which is hilarious. But I think it was just good timing, and it's like, I mean, I guess for me, it's like cool to see, like, to be involved in something like that, or validating.
Or were you someone that valued a lot those kind of edits? Because it seems like there were filmers for production companies that would just film for their movies and that was it. And, they did their job, quote unquote. And it seemed like you, in every year, were putting out edits during the season, which were behind the scenes of you guys shooting, or you guys would do a trip to Michigan, and then there was a park edit of a day that you went out.
It shows, I won't even think about it as far as me, but let's use another, I can't think of a filmer off the top of my head, but when you see a filmer that is just out there grinding, and then they're like continue to drop all this extra shit throughout the season, I'm like, that's the dude. Like there's there's several of them out there right now, like where like that, because they care so much and they're just wildly passionate. And now I live in a production world where people aren't gonna like do revisions on an edit without a little day rate add-on, or like, and these guys are just doing it for free. They're like, I got the, and
I think the best example right now would be maybe the Magma guys.
Yeah.
Who are doing weekly videos of behind the scenes and shenanigans and whatever, that is super nice to see, to stay up to date and see everything that goes into their production,
Yeah, because that's a lot of work to like be on the road and like try to stay caught up and like doing something weekly. But I feel like when you see someone grinding like that, like, and go figure, those guys make awesome shit. Like, I feel like when you're that work hard and super passionate about like a project, like it ends up being really cool. And that even applies in like freelance or anything else. Like when you're just like, oh yeah, I'm going to go shoot this interview. We're good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good. But like if you go in, you're like, I'm going to like up my game. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go put in the extra bit when you put in the extra bit when you don't have to, then it continues to elevate your like craft. And then next time you do something that elevates a little bit more. And then next thing you know, you're making cool stuff.
One thing that I was curious to have your thoughts on this. You've seen the evolution of media landscape in skiing. Like you grew up with VHS probably, uh, got into making films for DVD, saw the whole transition for a few years. It was iTunes that you had to buy them in to now just most of what is done is just straight to YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
And with that came production companies, as we said earlier, to now not really existing anymore aside from MSPTGR. Do you think in the current media landscape there could be a comeback to full movies with production company? Do you think that is something that could, there could be a rebirth of that, or is that a thing of the past with just how things are being consumed?
This conversation comes up a lot, and I feel like selfishly I'd want it to happen, but realistically, you really need a crew. Maybe you find 6 people that are all in. I think it works for companies. You take like a brand video like Armada, you get a brand together, because the logistics is sourcing sponsor money, and then you're, all of a sudden you get a guy on so and so skis where you're trying to shoot with one athlete, but they're like, hey, can you throw in this guy? And like, I don't know. I feel like what I do see I do like about these projects now is like somebody has a project and they're all in and focus is on that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Wallisch, we did that for Wallisch project. That was the first time I did that. And it was incredible because all resources are all in on like, the Tom Wallisch show. And then
thinking about it, you guys were the pioneers of that format. That is now the format. You have a Mango linking up with a Brady Perrin for 1 year doing a project. That is what's mostly done these days. You guys were the first one to do that in 2013.
Maybe first in skiing, but
in skiing, let's say.
But I would say like it was really inspired. The year before Wallisch project was Nyza Houston Rise and Shine, which was the first segment that I'm familiar with that went on iTunes for sale as just a segment. I was like, holy shit. Like that segment was so good. It just had me so fired up on like the possibilities of just being all in, because, like all in with one person. And then, and then we played around with some like formulas, some work, some don't. But yeah, big, huge shout out to like Wallisch's agent, Tom Yaps, made a lot of those projects after Level 1 even happened. Like he was the one that, got North Face, GoPro, all the, Monster, all the big sponsors to support Wallisch project and give us the funding in order to make the project. And he was really good on the business end to like let Wallisch and I focus on what we're doing. And that's what happened with Good Company. And I think that's back to like the ski film. They don't make any money. Like, and that's probably why it's so challenging and why it probably only works for like Armada or some of these brands. When you're all in on one piece, it's a big investment.
But when you were in Level 1, they were making money at some point, right?
I mean, full disclosure, like even the Good Company movies, Wallisch kind of had it set up. I mean, but like they weren't rolling a profit. And if it did, because we tried to figure out a model when we started that, like is there a way we can even, because we wanted to figure out a way that like we could like pay the athletes for the segment. There just wasn't like a model once you factor in all the travel and stuff. And then it gets complicated. Like who do you pay if somebody just has a cameo? And then it was kind of like, well, he's like, I've been on so many film shoots where like you get an invoice for a hotel room at the end of the trip. So Good Company, the budget went into like athlete hotels, or we'd grab food, or like it was kind of like the money rolled back into the project, whether we wanted a fancy new toy or we, at like a park shoot, we threw a party where like, we went to some like little dive bar, and it's like everyone order whatever the hell you want, drink whatever the hell you want, so we'd be like return the money back into the athletes, because that money it did make went further just like stoking out and showing appreciation than like if you couldn't. So that's tough. That's probably the reason why it's not happening as much, because it's expensive, man, to fly all over the place, and it adds up.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what I've heard similarly from Stepped, which, in their prime, they were selling a good amount of DVDs, but with, again, them being on the road all winter long, it just went back to cover the costs and help them buy new gear. And then it was do it again next year.
And yeah, and I never was part of the finances with Level 1, but I will say, like, the Level 1 Tall T supported Level 1 to make those movies in those glory days, because I would say that I would guess that some years they're probably making as much off the soft goods as the DVD, which is a great business model. Like, Berman's super smart with like how to run a company, and like if you're capping out money you can get from sponsors, you either look for like a non-endemic sponsor or okay, let's go to soft goods. And I feel like he's pretty resourceful with like finding ways to support the company to do what he loves. I mean, the dude's been making ski movies for, I can't even count at this point, but like he's still like equally as fired up, but he just needed to find he was really good at finding, he's a really good like connect the dots and making things happen, where I feel like when I was making ski films, I never was involved in the finance, which was great. It was like, here's a salary, here's a credit card, go do what you do, which I'm thankful that Berman and then Tom Yaps kind of like helped manage that, because I probably would have blown it all the first month. No.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I guess where I was coming off with that, with your thoughts on bigger crews and bigger movies, is Level 1 kind of did a comeback also last season with Wasteland.
Mm-hmm.
And that got me hyped, being like, oh shit, is it going to be a one-off, or is it feasible in the current landscape where there's no DVD sales to make it happen?
Berman could do it. I think he's, like I said, he's resourceful. He knows the business, and people want to work for Level 1. They want to shoot for Level 1. I mean, if he announced they're making a full length movie, which I know nothing about, I but I feel like if he announced that, there would be so much hype. Yeah. So Berman, if you're listening, make it happen. Bring me out on a trip.
Fuck
no,
yeah.
But like it's cool. Like, they've done so much, and like it's cool seeing like all the projects they've kind of done since they were doing the annual ski film. But I feel like I know Berman and I know Friedel, those dudes could pull together still like one of the most insane movies. So, and I know they still want it. So Let's go, boys.
Because that's the thing, when we talked a lot about the New Era crew and those guys being together, how that culminated into something special. I see all those solo projects of special people, and I'm like, fuck, I would want to see some of them together working on something special together,
Yeah, but I've realized, like, mingling with crews or just like talking to people, it's not, before it was like, you have 3 people on a trip, and now it's like, it's almost like not as or time effective, because like one person, let's put like Phil and Wallisch on the same trip. Both insane skiers in their own category, but like the features are so different now and so like specific to what somebody's trying to do, that like they're probably not going to session the same features. So then you're like shooting with Phil all day, and then the next day Wallisch is like on some features. So like I don't know. It's just like, I think it worked. The ski movie worked more before because like the features were more. I don't want to say generic, but more like
similar,
more straightforward.
Yeah.
Because they were unique at the time, but now the nuances and like the little parts of skiing is evolving so much that like I don't think like everyone going out and hitting the same features a thing anymore. So then I don't know. I kind of like watching these like little solo one-off pieces, just because But yeah, it's cool to see like them together. Like, but it's like also the camaraderie of like the riders, like thinking about like back to Keegan, like him and like you think about like him and Will Berman are like just always together, or like it works when like all the skiers are homies and maybe they are in the background hype man
Mhm.
or like whatever. But
When
I don't
there's
know.
something genuine, like the Magma boys that are not doing it because there's some sponsor link, just because they want to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny like back to like then and now because there's so much of a comparison. I think like I feel like skiing's almost more unified now because there's so much diversity of like things you can do, and it's okay for like you can find your little space and you don't have to like compete against like, well, I did a right 450 and you did a right 450. Like
Hmm.
it's I don't know, I feel like it's growing. It's sweet watching it grow as a whole and like have like there's not as much division or like beef. I feel
Yeah.
like back in the day there used to be like the unspoken beefs between like, oh well, Poor Boys was here, or like Stepped or Level One, like, and you would kind of like, I think that beef used to drive some like serious progression because you'd be like, damn, I can't hit that because like Cam Riley did this crazy thing there, but I'm gonna go to the next feature and do some crazy, like.
Yeah.
So it's cool, like, but I feel like there's not a, you know, it's just the sport's grown so much, and there's so many like categories that I don't know didn't exist.
Yeah. One classic that I have in mind when I think of ski beefs was a 4x9.
Oh yeah,
It was After Dark year, and maybe you're more, maybe you know the backstory, but from someone from the outside, we see then when After Dark comes out that Ahmed has a 450 onto a down ledge, and then the 6 months before, 4x9 puts out a video of McChesney doing the same feature, doing a 450 onto switch with a Tupac song. First off, fuck your bitch and the click you claim. And everyone on New Schoolers was like, "Holy, what's going on?"
I remember this. I mean, I was part of it. I shot it, and it's funny. I had beef with AJ years before that of like similar, like, it's kind of how it was. You're just like so passionate about your crew and you're
Yeah.
like trying, and then
You
this,
went to my spot, or you did the same
oh,
trick.
dude, I don't remember enough details to like say it, but me and McChesney had beef over it. And like, I feel like AJ, I love AJ because he's always pushing those buttons. I mean, he comes from that, like, I burn you, you burn me, and we like end up growing together. I
Yeah.
think that's him and I butted heads so much, not so much, but like at first, and even me and Wallisch, because like you just it's like two people that were so passionately into something that like it's like my crew, ride or die, like, and then those end up being your best friends because it's like, oh, those people are that passionate. Same like the Step guys, like you're probably like back and forth on shots, but like love those guys because like they should be your best friend because they're like somebody who you're like just how many passionate that people that fucking passionate about street skiing are there in the world? Like,
Mhm.
like that's awesome. But at the time, you just get fired up. But yeah, me and McChesney had like a little bit of. I'm trying to remember.
Was it that they went first and then they knew that you guys went after, or you remember the details of that?
Somebody went first. I think it was one of those like, oh, McChesney's got so much good stuff. A Mets banger. We could just this is like cutting room floor stuff for McChesney because McChesney had an insane segment that year.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like, I mean, back to AJ. He's like, and the old Tom used to do a lot. It's like that. It's like that. He was so into like that Tupac Biggie beef, or like it's just like that was just like what AJ got. It gets AJ fired up. Like
Yeah.
you get that guy like and Wallisch. You get Wallisch fired up, and it's like if I'm on a trip with him and he gets fired up about something, like you have no idea what you're about to get because like it wakes up this like beast that it's like. But I love it. Like he comes from that generation of that's what it was about. But yeah, you get him fired up about something and he's like can do anything. It's like, oh shit, I'm sitting back. Let's see what happens.
But was that a real beef, or was that more of a joke?
It was a little bit of real. I mean, it's not like, yeah. It was a little bit of beef.
That's sick. That's
But
so.
it's so like just childish looking back on it, or like whatever the word is. But
Yeah.
It's just looking back on all those like little, they all come from a place of passion, and like people are so proud of their thing, and they try and, but I always, that's how I grow, is you find like somebody that's better than you, and you like try to emulate, or like, you're just always kind of competing, and it brings everyone up, but some of it is probably unnecessary. But I kind of wish there was a little bit more of it now in skiing, or like at the X Games. Remember, like look at the Simon and Tanner Hall beef of like X Games pipe. Like now everyone's like high fiving, and it'd be like sometimes a little bit of controversy adds a little spark.
Yeah, it kind of lacks that. I agree, and it's kind of cool also to see like you and AJ were beefing about that, and then you ended up working on like tens of projects together.
Oh yeah, him and I were like, by the end of it, people were calling us the good couple for good company, because like
Nice.
we just spent. There were years, we're spending more time with each other than we are with like our significant others. But dude, AJ's the man, and like always just he's never too serious, and brings a good vibe. And he's damn good. Like he's so talented. Like you'll see him like, I'll see him over there like with a camera, and you're like, he's kind of just like doing his thing. And then all of a sudden you look at the shot later, and you're like, Jesus Christ. Like he comes up with some unique ways to shoot things. And I've given him buckets of footage that like, he's a really, really good editor, and he's resourceful. I've given him like raw footage from the Wallisch project, and I would see him make B-roll clips out of stuff where it was like the camera was like panning down to the ground, or like, he's like, I feel like he does a good job at really digging in and finding like unique moments outside of the skiing, because the skiing's easy to go point A to point B, clip to clip, but like just like how he builds like B-roll or transitions and stuff, I like his style.
We've talked about a bunch of stuff. I want to ask you some random questions, some straight up broad ones. I want to have your gist of it.
Yeah.
What is your favorite level 1 film? As someone who grew up watching them probably, and then was part of many, if you had to go like and go on the couch right now and watch Sunny,
yeah,
fuck yeah.
But I've been watching some of the other ones, and I was watching some with Hornbeck on our trip in Michigan, and I was like, we're watching some parts, and I don't know, there's like, I mean, you look at iTrip, like Ahmet was so locked in that year. He had a song picked out in the beginning of the season. He was just like grooving. That was one of those magic segments, like Delorme in that movie. I mean, it's Delorme always like, that's somebody I'm super honored to shoot with, because he's really a unique. I don't know if you ever read like his. There was a free skier article Nate Abbott wrote called "Invisible Skier."
I don't think so.
But he's like, I mean, it's kind of like he's like the guy that like cares more about relationships than like getting a big contract, and like he's just like, I don't even know. I can't describe him in the length I have in this podcast, but a very unique skier. He's every skier's favorite, your favorite skier's favorite skier, and like. Yeah. I'm honored that he lets me film with him, because like, I don't know, he's very elusive, and like, it's cool to like, shoot with people like that. But yeah.
And I think he's probably, in the world of free skiing, he's probably the most, what would be a good word? The ratio of how much people are hyped on him and how much he's produced versus how little people know of him.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a ghost a bit.
But he's like, also when you're on his inner circle, he's like he's a loyal friend. He's just a good old Montana boy, but like a loyal friend. Like, I don't know why this hasn't happened, but he's the kind of guy, I feel like the type of person he is like, we could be in Whistler. We could be waiting a week for it to finally fire. Sunny day comes. Let's say, I don't know, I don't want to say I'm sick or something. Let's say I get a phone call and I get some really bad news, and I'm just bummed. Really bummed out. Or like, he's the kind of guy like, we don't need to go out. Like, let's go bowling or grab some beers. Like, he will like, it's not, once you're it's just like those camaraderies of like, he's been waiting all this time for that his moment, but he cares more about your friendship than like him selfishly getting a clip. And it's all those like little nuances of working with all these people that like they're gonna always be your best friends because like you've just been through so many experiences with him. But he's really like a loyal, good person, and you point a camera at him in the backcountry or in the park, and you're getting the craziest shit. So
Yeah, you have one of the most classic shots ever with him, where I think it's in Mammoth, and he does a cork 5 tail drag, and the shot is slow mo. That's you, right?
yeah,
And it's just the longest tail drag ever done.
yeah, that was back when like ESPN. I was just starting to work with them in X Games, and their content person was like, "Oh, let me know if you have any." It's when you were like making stories or like bonus edits or park edits, and they would buy them for like whatever it was, like a couple $300 or $400. And I was like, "Listen, which is funny to produce an edit for like in the production world, but like I was like, look, I shot that and I made that edit. And I was like, I have something I've shown to a couple people, and like it's kind of insane. Like I was like, I bet." I convinced them that like just to have them post that clip with like no context. And the guy I was working for at the time said that they released that during Summer X Games, and it got more content on their website. It got more traffic on their website than anything from Summer X Games. And I was like, I mean, that kind of explains like what that. And now like you see people do tricks like that, but I don't. It's the time and it's. Or so I say people do like that, but they're not doing it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just like,
Yeah,
what the fuck? Like doesn't even make sense.
yeah, for sure. I think when it came out, I watched it 100 times, being like, "What the fuck?" And the slow mo was really dope on that, where it was Megamo, where you could really see it drag.
Mm-hmm. And that was the first year of having like the FS 700, where everyone's overusing, high frame rates. Was that like 480 or
240, something like that?
Some silly number, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The only one I saw getting close or that reminded me of that was this year, A-Hall in the World Cup. There was a cannon rail at an angle where you would like go above another landing, and you would do switch on 6 out. And during the 6 out, do it, not a tail tap, a tail drag.
A-Hall's insane.
Like really flexing them in a slope run. I remember we were all like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he's so fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I asked you what your favorite level 1 film. Let's keep going just a few. I like.
Yeah, sorry, I got in the weeds again.
No, all good. Who's your favorite skier that you filmed park with?
I mean, it's Wallisch or Adam DeLorme, with like many, many, many close seconds.
But then Wallisch or DeLorme?
What kind of park features? I don't know. That's a tough one.
It's so different, right? Because DeLorme, I feel like will go fast and do some buttery stuff, whereas Wallisch is like.
I'd say let's give it to DeLorme. I've been giving Wallisch a lot of flowers in this, so
nice. Favorite guy to film street with?
I'd say Wallisch or Hornbeck. Yeah, in their own ways. I mean, that's another tough one. Wallisch probably because we've just done so much together, and like we know we just have such a connection of like how we do things and how we operate and respect for each other. And
you did your comeback with him.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a comeback. It's like got a little nice little opportunity, and I think that was like it was just like let's shoot a trip, and then I got a spark, and I'm like let's keep this going. I'm not doing more next year. Like I'm fired up.
And then what was supposed to be a one-off, then you kept going and went filming with Keegan. So it seems like it kind of lit a flame.
On that trip, Josh Bishop from Monster was on that trip, and I'm just like, we're obviously just everyone's hyping up Keegan on the trip, and I'm like, he's just that one guy. There's some people who are like, I kind of never got to shoot with that guy, but like you just see him, and Bishop's like he's like, I was like, if there's ever like a chance or he's looking for, because I really love and respect he's got his boys, but like if there's an opportunity where like he's got an opening or needs like another shooter or like anything, tap me in. But I do gotta say, like after listening to your podcast, like I love his respect he has for the people. Like if you listen to how much respect he has for Ethan and Cam, like it's unmatched. And those guys, like especially, I know both of them, like those guys would stand in front of a train for him, like they do anything for him. And I feel like that type of camaraderie is like how you get good shit. How you get your homie like getting you pumped up at 2 a.m. when you're freezing cold out and you're trying to get him to get the trick, not like whining about it being cold. You just like, I don't know.
You need that. Yeah, you're right.
I love hearing, because there's some skiers that show up more than other, but I love hearing the respect and camaraderie there is between the skier and the filmer, just personally, because that's a huge relationships are a huge thing for me, and like friendships. And, I'm not just like a tool or, like if somebody that you can hire another filmer, but like I like to have like a good, I mean, we're out there playing around, like make it a fun, cool experience. Like
at that point, it's a team sport, so you need that team mentality.
Yeah. That's why we're doing it, and that always brushes off in like the end product.
And what was you said you were hyped to potentially film with him. Did he deliver to your expectations?
Yeah, he did. I wouldn't really say much what he did, but it's just that precision, and honestly, like just dedication, precision, knowing exactly, just like scientists on like how he wants it set up, scientists on like really communicating with like this me and Ethan on like angles, and like I was just excited to be like brought into that like little inner circle, and I feel like I learned a lot from like him and Ethan on like how he operates, how Ethan operates, and just like how I was loving hearing like all of the nuances of like the unspoken for rules or how things work now, because like I felt like I knew the rule book inside and out, and now there's just it's just a different process now, from like spot selection to how people operate, to the cameras they operate, to what's cool, what's not. Like there's just so many things like I'm like surprised by. It's like not even like, it's just like cool. I'm just excited to sit back and like hear them. I'm not upset about anything. I'm just like, this is so cool. Cause like there was one thing I've heard through crews that like showing a winch or showing that you got speed isn't cool. Cause like you don't want to do that, because like, which is, I kind of get, but I'm like thinking back, I'm like, as people tell me that, I'm like, shit, I'm probably the most guilty of anyone in the sport of skiing of like showing that or showing the process. But like,
yeah, get me in the same train as you, because I don't mind.
Yeah,
I'll show the winch. Like I don't see it as a positive or negative. It's more like, how do you think I went up that wall? Like there's a winch.
No, but it's kind of cool. I love like respecting like every skier has their own like boundaries or how they want to present their skiing, and like fucking, it's just cool for me, because like I'm not like I used to be like that fired up, I'm gonna burn this, and I'm just like, for me, I'm just like a just observing, and like fucking it's cool to see like what was that? I'm trying to think, like it's cool to see, like I noticed, probably won't piece together, but like there was all these little nuances of like this crew, that crew, this thing, that thing, and everyone was concerned about like back in like our time about like all these like do's and don'ts of how you shoot thing or how you do a trick or how you put the movie together. And like you kind of see like the end product of all these individual pieces growing as like a sport in the right direction. It doesn't matter about like this project or this project. It's just like, I don't know a good way to say it, but like, I used to get so caught up on these nuances, and now but it's like looking back, it's just cool to see, you realize everyone's individuality of how each crew does something different is what grows that crew, and that everyone kind of grows together, but it's that makes any sense.
So were there any new rules that you were surprised by, or it all made sense kind of?
Not really. Like, I mean, it's just like things I've heard, talking to like, skiers are like, oh, I guess we're like, but not really. I mean, they're just like little nuances, but it's just funny. That was just an example I heard somebody say crews were doing, and I was like, I get it, but it's just funny because I never for me, I'm just like, maybe it's like this Ohio Midwest hillbilly coming out where I'm like, damn, I got this 2-stroke. Let's fucking, let's get this thing revved up and let's get shots of it. Like, it's just a cool device that changed skiing. So I was just like, I mean, good company movies are, I mean, you can't watch every minute that you're going to see somebody getting roped in on a winch, but like,
Yeah,
it's
and
kind
I
of cool.
feel it comes naturally with how the types of feature evolve. Where in the past years, 90+% of what I filmed was with a winch.
Yeah,
Because you look at it with a certain lens, whether it's a creative feature or creative approach, it's all stuff that requires the winch. You're not going to get it done without it.
we didn't have one in Toronto, but we didn't need one necessarily. I mean, it would have been nice, but Keegan had one in Michigan. He had one of those electric ones that you can travel with on a plane, even though
Those are the best.
he drove. But it's insane how small they are. But it just like opens up. I hate being on a trip and you see a cool feature, but how are we going to get speed is always the first question. And then like even things you just need a little bump or something. It's like you don't need to drop in all of a sudden, and you can just like just get a little snag on the winch and go. I mean, I think they've changed the sport for the better.
Yeah. Because for us, again, it's not that 90% of the features were going top speed. It's, yeah, sure, we could build a drop in and build some snow bumps, and that'll require time and energy that maybe will prevent him from getting the shot, or maybe will get him hurt. So we can just set up the winch and just tow him in a bit.
Yeah.
I see it as a kind of as an efficiency tool at some point,
Another little nuance I'm thinking that I just thought was funny is Wallisch told me this. Like, yeah, people don't use tripods anymore. Like, tripods are whack. And I'm like, damn, was guilty of it. And, I shoot handheld a decent amount too, but it's just like funny. Like, I'm like, also been guilty of that because I feel like a lot of times I have a shot where like if I do get tight or close up is like so much more control with that tripod, but I get it, and it's just funny like the things that's just a great example of something that like wasn't even on my radar. Like
Same thing. It makes me feel old when I'm either tripod or anything that stabilizes, and then new generation is all about the handheld, which it's their thing.
I guess I get it. Like in production, like if I'm doing like a production gig, I feel like I'm borderline anti-gimbal. So I always do handheld, where like I feel like the trends have been overplayed. I mean, if you think about, it's different for me because I came from, the VX 2100 or like all the late 90s, early 2000s cameras where like a new camera would come out and that was, you wanted to keep like advancing your camera technology or your craft, and then there'd be all these movies like MacDog Picture This or Art of Flight, all these movies that like the skiers were pushing themselves, but in that same time there was like crazy push in like cinematography, and I was so caught up in like the latest trends, some good, some bad. Like there was that one year that everyone shot everything with a dolly just because it was the year after Picture This. Like whatever Picture This came out, look at ski movies the year after and everyone's using a dolly.
There was that for cranes.
I had a crane.
Around the mid 2000s, there was that for dollies.
I had a cable cam.
You could see the influence the year after. Teddy Bear Crisis, where time lapses were super hyped.
Yeah, I mean, Teddy Bear Crisis they pushed cinematography so hard.
Yeah, the step brought in the desaturation, kind of more like, I don't know, you would call that more like
flat, like almost flat picture profile.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like around the mid 2000s. I don't know if like that got maxed out, and maybe Art of Flight and the effects after it kind of ruined it. And maybe the Red Bull look people got annoyed with a little bit too polished. I'll call it the Red Bull look, but like that too polished of a look, the trend's almost reverting. That's another thing that's surprising me is like we're almost going back in time with the cameras because they're a specific look. But like when the HVX or the HPX, I don't know the right models, like those are like the hot they're a hot camera right now.
The P2?
The P2, but when the P2 came out through Rage, let's see, when we shot the Rage movie, like
2008?
when the new camera came out after that, that P2 is gone. Like you're like, it's interesting to see, like, I'm a little jealous because like I loved me some handheld and the zoom, the zoom rocker on the handle, because you can do a lot with it and it's really fun and like less complicated. You're not like worrying as much about focus or all this stuff. You're just kind of playing. But you see a lot of those cameras, and I will say there's some people that are really good at shooting that style, like like Owen, for example, with that and there's some other. I feel like then there's some crews that like Ethan Timmons is really, but then there's some crews that like I feel like are just using it but don't know how to use it in that own like craft or style. And it's but it's interesting for me to like see that like we're going back in time, and I like really want to talk to more filmers about like it's interesting, like
the evolution of generations. I see it a lot as a generational evolution where for you got that for music, for fashion, for many things, where we wanted to see the new things, and at some point if it's old enough, it kind of becomes cool again in some ways. And I kind of see it also with the business way of skiing, where you guys were selling tens of thousands, I don't know, maybe thousands, let's say, of DVDs around the world. You wanted to push the business envelope, whereas now it's going on YouTube for free. Like there's not that incentive.
Yeah.
For good or for bad. It's just maybe more freedom also to the filmmakers to be like, I'll do what I want, how I want, and also on a financial scale where there's not the money to buy a red for an upcoming filmmaker now. Whereas the P2 is selling for 500 maybe.
Oh, those are a couple grand.
Okay.
But yeah, it's interesting. I wonder, I guess I'm kind of thinking more about it, and really the obvious thing is it came from, look at those are the rules that skateboarding uses, and I feel like skateboarding still sticks with cameras from that from the late 90s to early 2000s. But like I don't know, part of me is like people are trying so hard to emulate skateboarding when like we're free skiing and we have like our own unique ways of doing things, and just like embrace it. We got the environment stuff's cool. Like we're in so many more unique environments, and also like just like, I don't know, paying credit to like, it has a unique style of like how ski and snowboard films are shot. Right. But I don't know. It's interesting like conversation to have. And I don't think there's a right and wrong way. Like there's sometimes that like in the Michigan trip, I'd be on a Sony FX6 as my camera, and Ethan would be on the Panasonic, and the ability to be like tight in one spot, wide in another spot, and like tight again, or vice versa, or any combination. And he knows like when, why, and like the right styles to do it. I'm like, I see his shot. I'm like, that's the clip. Like that's so I get it. Like there's the right tool for like certain things.
I think it's nice when you blend both. When I think in his latest video, Try Hard, there's a blend of both, and when edited accordingly, it's super dope to have them fit together.
Yeah, that dude had I feel like every time he opened up his bag, he had a different camera. It was like he was shooting film, he was shooting photos, he had like, but it was like what camera is right for this situation, and is what I respected about it, is like, he had a Blackmagic one, a Pocket Cinema 5K or 6K or whatever the camera is, and then he would, that would be like his go-to follow cam. And then if you want to play with zoom or like emphasizing a certain part of trick, that it's just like, it's, once again, I'm just stoked to go on these trips to like observe and watch like how things are doing it, because I feel like I was always just in with like my crew. And one project I always wanted to do was back when like Step Level 1 Poor Boys was like firing, is like, I always wanted to like do a I don't know if it was a doc or something, but like I wanted to go be like a photographer. Like photographers could go hang out and be like, oh, the step guys were doing this, or the poor boys guys are doing this, or the level. And I'm like, because everyone like operates so differently, but they all end up with cool shit. And I don't know, it's just interesting to me to like see how
You
people's,
think everyone operates differently?
yeah, like some,
I thought you would have said otherwise. I thought you would have said like, yeah, everyone kind of has the same way of going about it.
yes and no, little nuances in film style and just like, even just travel style. Like, there's some guys sleeping on floors, there's some guys staying in nice hotels. There's some guys that are partying till 2 a.m, and there's some guys that are stretching the night before and drinking water and doing
Yeah,
saunas.
okay, I get that.
Just like I don't know. I just like to
What's your vibe?
my vibe.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm old now, so I'm probably staying in the hotel. But like, I don't know. I'm all in. Like, I'm actually both of those trips we didn't shoot night, and that's because like we didn't have a generator, or like maybe that's what kids are doing now, which I absolutely love, not staying up till 4 a.m. and then waking up. But I want to get. I feel like I have some unfinished business to just play around for my own like personal hobby. I want to play around with like lighting technology is so much better now and so much cheaper, and you need so much less power that like I used to run 2,000 watt generators, and if I ran those now with some apertures, like you could get really sick, like moody street shots that aren't just like blast a bunch of light and blow everything out, like
Construction lights.
and go like soft light and then like heavy backlight was always my style. Like get that backlight behind the lip, get them throwing snow up, like that dramatic look, but like soften the look and make it like a little more gloomy and not like less like a studio, even though it's more studio lit, like more natural. Or that makes sense.
Yeah, we see really less and less night filming, and when it's done, it's a lot of the times these days it's with just a light on the camera as a follow cam or something, rather than in our days where it was like the whole scene was lit up.
Yeah, let's go. That was fun.
But I kind of like the look of just on the camera. I think it's a nice change.
Yeah. But then you bring those lights out and then your schedule, as soon as those lights come out, because the sun goes down and that's when you're done shooting. But when those lights come out, these like Tom Wallisch is a great example. Like he just has too hard of a work ethic that like all these guys, they don't like leave and be like, okay, well, it's getting late. It's like they go as hard as possible until they get their trick. And it's just like, you're standing outside of school at 3 a.m, like trespassing. And like, it's like, what are we, like, it's funny, but like, it's insane how much these dudes work ethic, like how hard they go. Like, there's not many times unless somebody gets injured, you're just like, we're going to go home. We're done.
Mm-hmm.
You get the trick or you get hurt. I feel like,
yeah,
like there's not a lot of like, I don't know. It's just insane how bad people want a shot.
So to finish off my series of questions, favorite skier to film POW with?
Adam DeLorme.
Damn, he wins too. Yeah, he is the all-terrain vehicle, right?
All-terrain vehicle.
Is that how they call it? The ATV?
Yeah.
Someone who like can do anything?
I always never really, maybe I brought him out to one street spot, but when the winch started coming into the scene, I was like, DeLorme, I know street was too slow for you, but we got this thing that you can go fast. And it's just, I couldn't even imagine if that guy got into street.
Oh my God.
Well, what it is like, I noticed with like, it's Keegan. Like, I think in your episode, he said his two inspirations are DeLorme and Clayton. If you watch his skiing, he's DeLorme and Clayton.
Yeah.
Like whether he's not emulating, but like he's so inspired by that. Like, but I think if DeLorme skied street, it would look like Keegan.
Yeah, I agree.
Like this is that fast strength, precision, like not jumping at every feature, but being like very meticulous about the release of the shots.
Yeah. Okay, so to end off the episode, I have people on Patreon that can ask you questions.
Oh boy.
So first off, we got Ryan Bruninghouse who asks, "What is the longest street battle you've been a part of?"
The first one that comes to mind, so I'm not going to think further, is Wallisch refresh opening 2-on to the Gagne quad kink, and it will always be the Gagne quad kink. He had some battles on it too. That rail is since no longer. I don't even think it exists anymore. But we were shooting backcountry that day with Phil Hornbeck and Wallisch, driving back, and we had the lights and generators. So we decided driving back to Salt Lake, we're like, let's light this thing up. And it rained, it snowed. I mean, I think Berman's probably dropped some behind the scenes. It was just like he was battling on that one for a while. And maybe it wasn't the longest battle, but I felt like it was the most emotional battle with the rain and the lowest lows and the highest highs. I mean, that was so insane to 2-on to that rail in 2009.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's like one of his most classic shots with the intro and the
yeah,
the first shot opening the segment.
Tip of the hat to like the generation that came before, like Charles Gagne, who led the charge in the big rails. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know I'm probably missing someone, but like he did hit that rail probably 5 years before. And it's now paying respect, but like putting a little progression on top of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Then Sam Chef asks, "What's the shot that you are most proud of?" The opening or closing shot of your skiing demo reel.
I don't know. I'm looking on the wall because I have all these like level 1 movies on. Hey, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Because I could say some that I like, but I don't know if it was you or Friedel or Berman that shot them.
I'm curious. Yours
of the level 1 days. Oh my god! Because I feel like I was always a sucker for tricks. Like one that I think of is, let's say, a Metz transfer on the S rail.
Berman.
And I trip Berman.
Yeah.
But that's not even that much cinematography. It's more like that shot is so banger that the rail, the trick, everything involved in it.
It's fun. I just haven't watched. I need to like sit down and watch all these. Like I got 2 little kids now, and they're now at the age that they love, they're obsessed with TV. I'm like, let's not watch Disney. Like, let me show you some let me show you refresh. But I think they're starting to get into skiing, and I want to I'm going to be in Tahoe this weekend with them. I'm going to put it up on the TV, but I want to share these moments with them. And I bet as I watch them, I'll probably remember it. But I haven't rewatched a lot of these in a little. I just kind of see what level 1 posts, and I'll repost or I'll remember a clip and dig up some shots. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't have that one clip.
Then again, Sam Chef, are there any crazy stories from filming in the streets, random interactions, or things he's been a part of?
I mean, interactions are a lot of times with getting busted or stopped. Like in Moscow, we were out one day. I don't know if may have told this story, but we were out one day and our guide Alex was not with us for this one time. It was like a Sunday and he had something going on. Of course, we're gonna go get some. We're gonna go get some shots. We went to this park that we thought we were good at. It was next to this apartment complex, which most of Moscow is an apartment complex, like these old Soviet style buildings. And
yeah,
sure enough, this lady comes out. She just yelling Russian at us. I don't know. Then this cop car pulls up, this old Soviet car, 4 police officers, AK. There's at least 1 AK, and I'm on the ground adjusting a dolly, so that'll tell you it's whatever year that trend was. And I'm they're screaming at me. They got I'm just I don't know if they're trying to steal my camera. I'm a little shook because I'm this. If you get into a Russian jail, you just get forgotten about or lost or
you don't want to end up there.
Yeah, and so they were screaming, and I was and I get my phone and I keep pointing at my hand, yo, get my translator on the phone, and I'm pointing at my hand or pointing at the phone and offering the phone to them. They said something to each other, looked at each other, all didn't say a thing, got in the car and drove away. And I'm
Okay.
like, who did they think I had on the line? Like, did they think I had some like ambassador? Like, but I think, I don't know what happened, but that one I was like pretty shook on. And then there was like the Japanese cops in this in Sunny, which
When
was
you all got arrested?
they put us in a paddy wagon and took us back to our hotel. All they ended up, by the time we actually like figured out the English thing, we didn't have our passports on us, so they drove us back to the
Mm.
hotel. But they piled us all in the paddy wagon and like, but I mean, Japanese people are the kindest people on planet Earth. Like, I'm not scared when I'm like interacting with police in Japan, but it was
Yeah.
just like a funny,
Was
um,
Russia the sketchiest place?
yeah, hands down. It's like the most stressed I've ever been on a trip, but the most like one of the most rewarding trips I've ever been on. I'll never go on anything like that again. I kind of thrive on going on these crazy exotic street trips. It was kind of my thing for a little bit, and I still have a couple locations in my back pocket maybe to go on next year. But like, I just like going in the most insanely untraditional places to go skiing, and I don't know why, but then and now because skiing is so nuanced, there's so many more options for features and like that like you just have a cool backdrop and then it's just like I don't know. I love that stuff.
Is there a place that you feel is still untapped for street skiing? Maybe in the
Yeah,
States or.
I want to go to Kazakhstan.
Oh,
Amati. I almost went there. I was wanting to go there this year, but I didn't have enough lead time, and that would be probably just not even like that's just a massive city, a place with snow. That's all I'm looking for is like massive
yeah.
city, consistent snow, unique location, and then like we have like a potential guide in place, and then you also need boots on the ground of like local skiing community, which I reached out to, and there's a local resort, a local park, and just can like just it's nice to have some resources in your back pocket of like you know, and then somebody might get you started in a couple spots, and then you could like cruise around. But it's just like I don't know it's just a rush to like be on this kind of thing. So I wouldn't get as risky as going to like Russia since I have kids now. Like it's a little bit more calculated.
Yeah. Laurent Olivier Martin asks, what is your favorite level one movie? But I think, did I ask you or? Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I
I asked
believe
you.
you did ask me, and I said Sunny.
Yeah, okay. Do you want to elaborate on why Sunny specifically?
Yeah, my favorite level one movie was Sunny because even though like Refresh, I said everyone was like clicked and synced and together, but like I don't know. For me, I feel like everyone's like style and everything got refined, and I also like that was the first year Berman gave me a little extra responsibility, and like I co-directed the movie, which I didn't take lightly. So kind of wanted to, once again go all in. But yeah, that one was special to me, like just to cap off my level one, you know, years with that. But then there was a break, and now I'm kind of
Yeah,
chiming in here and there. But like, I don't know, it was just a good movie, good soundtrack, good feel. I'm gonna credit the reason that movie for me, or like my efforts towards that movie, was I was living in Denver at the time, and in like October and November, Brady and Hornbeck like stayed with me, or we were chilling a lot, and they came out for like an early season storm, and I just like between Hornbeck and Brady's like conversations, like I got so inspired, and like Brady had like such a great perspective on like the feel and energy a ski film should have, and then Hornbeck had his like perspective, and then I had like my perspective, but like we were really vibing, and I feel like I carried some of that stuff forward through the movie, and it came out in the film. But so shout out to Brady and Hornbeck for inspiring me.
nice. And that was your last movie with level one, right?
Yeah, I mean, as a full time employee, I've chimed in the next year with some shots and then some romance. We did the trip, but that was like the last year all in with the level one fam.
Then again, Laurent Olivier Martin asks, which of the level one movies has been the most influential? Or I guess the question is more pointed to you, maybe.
Is that like before I was involved or?
Question's pretty broad,
Yeah,
so I guess go at it as you wish.
I mean, I think it's. I feel like it's safe to say that Refresh was the most influential for people. I feel like I hear, the most feedback on that, but then you run After Dark, I Trip, and Sunny as like close seconds. But I think they all did. I think like Level One in general as a company was a huge influence on skiing, and that's like well before me. It was Berman and Friedel's baby, and they molded it into what it is even today. So
Mhm.
I feel like they had a huge impact on Level One, the biggest.
Then another one from Laurent. Um, which level one skier has been the most influential?
I mean, Tom Wallisch.
Yeah,
That's
I
that
think
one's
that's a
like.
hard one to beat.
I mean, there's so many others that are right there along with him, but like, yeah,
I guess in close second, you got. Oof. Yeah, that's the thing. Again, you go back to the refresh squad. You got Henrik, Hornbeck,
Parker, Darby,
Casaubon.
Casaubon, Hornbeck. It just goes on forever. So like, as a crew, but I think like Wallace has probably put the biggest like stamp or impact on skiing and like influenced so many people.
Yeah, I think it's hard to relate if you weren't there in those days, but from 2007 to 2011, the Wallish influence, it's
Yeah,
hard to top.
yeah. It's like the wallet. Just sit back and watch the show. That takes nothing away from like that long lineup of dudes we talked about, but it's just like you can't turn your back on like how much that dude's changed skiing,
Hmm.
or just like I don't know, not changed it, but just I guess changed it and just like kept it healthy moving forward. And he's still doing stuff in so many areas to get people, still fired up on skiing. Whether he's doing rail jams or he's announcing, he's you know, I feel like even with his sponsors, he's doing so many little things to like spark the flame in like the next kid by being like as accessible and like
Hmm.
cool as he is. Like if I was a kid and there was a it didn't work like that, but if like Tanner Hall came to my ski resort when I was a kid, I would be like forever biggest fan of Tanner Hall. So I feel like it's the people that are really giving back into the sport and like you know have faith in like growing it, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Last question. Will Cameron asks, what what's your favorite part you've made and favorite part someone else has made?
Hmm. That's a tough one. I mean, one that comes to mind, I feel like I was all in on was Wallish project or Wallish's first real ski.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like we came out swinging for both of those. So working alongside someone like all in on a project. I'd also throw Ahmed Dadali's I Trip segment in there. Like him and I were like just synced up and we knew exactly we were vibing, and I think it shows in the way the segment was put together.
Yeah, I think as much as I like Wallish project and also his real ski, but Matt's iTrip segment, I would agree with you. It's something special.
Yeah,
The song choice, the how everything fit together, the uh, all different types of street spots that were all banger, plus the backcountry shots, fucking him eating a chicken wing. Uh, there's so many. There's a straight air shot of him in the backcountry just breaking off a tree branch, and so many shots that are legendary in that I, at least in my mind, aged super well. That I'd still bump it after our
yeah,
talk, and I'd still be hyped.
yeah. The chicken wing thing's funny. We're like just at the grocery store getting like pre-made sandwiches or sandwich supplies. It's like I'm about to get some chicken wings. I'm gonna get a shot of me eating some chicken wings out there.
That's such a
That guy is hilarious. But yeah, dude, good times, and I'm missing. Once again, if I like actually sat down and made a list and wasn't on the spot, I probably missed a couple big ones. And then like favorite movie segments, they're all going to come before I was, you know, piped. The ones that got me fired up
Mhm.
off the bat, and I could name a bunch, but like Tanner, 1242. I mean Tanner in a ton of movies. Pap 1242. I think that one. I've watched that one more than so many other skiing, but like those two segments were they're just so ahead of their time and timeless. Like I think, those
And
all those
how would you describe how ahead of their time they were to the young people listening who might not even have seen 1242?
I don't even know, because if you watch it now, somebody might be like, "Oh, I can do this, or I can do that." But like, I think if you just watch other movies at the time besides 1242,
Mhm.
you realize how much more ahead it was. But they were like paving the way for like what style even looked like in free skiing. Before it was like, I'm trying a trick. I jumped on the rail. I got off the rail. There's a clip, and then it
Mhm.
became like more like Tanner. Obviously, I think brought arguably like him and E-Raps and CR brought like that style aspect into skiing. And like, I don't know if you can describe how impactful it was unless you were part of it, or
Yeah.
it's just like it was special. I mean, those were also some of the first big ski movies I watched. Before you had to like wait you have to wait until the fall to see the movie. So I think hype was built up way more than now. And yeah, it was golden age, one of the golden ages in skiing.
There's Tom Wallisch who asks, can you tell
Wallace.
us about the Cactus Club memberships?
Oh my gosh. You know about Cactus Club, right?
No, I don't.
Oh, you know Earl's?
Earl's, yeah, the
Come on, you
restaurants.
live in Canada.
Yeah, but in Quebec we're different. We don't have that
Okay.
type of shit.
So Toronto just has like we were kind of between the Earl's chains. It's Earl's, Cactus Club, and one other one
Okay.
that me, Bishop, and Wallish were like, let's go there for dinner. And I don't know. I feel like Wallish is just trying to get a little inside joke in there, but we basically just like we're really into this Cactus Club. We'd go there, get a margarita or whatever, and we acted like it was some exclusive club. But one of the waitresses like wrote, I might even still have it in my wallet. My wallet's not here, but they wrote like a club membership for me, Bishop, and Wallish. But that was just like our spot, we're older folks, so we were going to like a little nicer restaurant in our older
Yeah.
days, and I don't know, it was good because like we've done
Enough McDonald's.
the McDonald's, we've done the like I've done it all, and I'm like the worst, and I'm like, yeah, like let's go get a nice dinner with the boys. And I feel like with those two trips, like Keegan's like also like he's I feel like the kids aren't eating McDonald's anymore, which is great. Like Keegan like also is like likes to like not eat trash. So like same with like the Toronto trip. So like both those trips we were eating like pretty well, and like also it's crazy how much more energy you have when you're not like eating fast food at 3 a.m. Like
Yeah. Who would have thought?
yeah. But nice one, Wallish. Of all the things you got to ask, that's you're gonna drop the Cactus Club.
But then he also asked about your big night out in Moscow, but I feel you kind of already answered that.
Oh wow, Wallish. Yeah, big night out in Moscow was yeah, we went out to like this like we all had one night we went out big, and me and O'Connell ended up going out to this like very randomly exclusive club that was like in an alley that went up an elevator, and it was just like I don't know, we stayed out very late, and but yeah, we stayed out late, and then Mr. Wallace didn't go out that night, and Mr. Hungry, I feel like the next day we were he was just real hungry to just like do as much stuff as possible, and I was just like violently hungover, and I thought we were going to kind of have a down day, but you never have a down day with that dude's work ethic. So I was just so annoyed the next day because I was like dying, and yeah, that's the extent of the details.
Did he get a banger at least?
Probably.
For sure.
Yeah.
He had one last note that he sent me that I think is a good subject because it's an insane story from back in the days that made the news on News Coolers and everything. You got your camera stolen in Minnesota back in the days.
Yeah.
Dude, that's insane. I always imagined that like me being in a street spot, going to shovel or leaving the camera in the corner and then you come back and the camera's not there? What the
I mean, it should happen more often if you think about it, with like how crews operate, and I'm more self-aware, very like a lot more aware of like, but we were shooting that same ledge you were talking about, McChesney's 4 on. I think one year a Met maybe was going up it,
Yeah.
or down at some kind of 50. And I was shooting a long shot from the parking lot, and those boys were down at the bottom with the winch, and the winch kept like not working. It was just like having issues, and it was my winch at the time. So I was like, run over there, let's go tinker on it. And as soon as I was in like a really huge parking lot, like it felt safe, like a borderline like an event, like stadium parking lot. And then as soon as I got as far away from my camera, a car that was parked across the street was just like, we just thought, they pinned it in, and I'm running to the car, but like they didn't even get out of the car. They just like reached their hand out and grabbed my tripod. And they're like, I distinctly remember like driving away and it's just hanging outside the car. So we like ripped in my truck and like tried to chase them down. Couldn't find them. And yeah, that was kind of a low point, but Berman helped me out with getting me a new camera ASAP. And yeah, that was like, I mean, because at the time, that's like the biggest investment you have, or like, and also like there was clips on that camera. Like, I don't think there was like a grade, but like we shot a rail earlier that day, and we didn't get a shot on the feature we were shooting with, but like there was a shot on a down rail that like maybe I had a second angle on, but like just gone. That's my biggest fear when you lose. Like, if someone like this year when I was on these trips, like when I have like you're getting pretty sick stuff. So you, on any trip, I guess, and I'm just like always like putting my like cards in like a little Pelican wallet or something, and they're always like on me in a zipped pocket. So like if you do happen to go in for dinner, or like, you do any, I don't know, things, shit happens. Like, it's like you're sacred. Like, take my camera, I don't care. Insurance will replace it. Obviously, it would suck, but what's way more valuable is like this never before done trick that's sitting on this little card that like I'm kind of responsible for, like
safekeeping.
Yeah, a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I remember there was an article, and I think maybe Level 1 asked for help in Minnesota to maybe retrieve it. And I think that stuck with me because every time I'm going away from my cam, I remember that, yeah, it happened once. Like, I don't want to be another case of that happening.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for coming on,
Kyle. I'm honored to be a part of this.
Really appreciate it. Dude, I'm honored you came in, because I don't think I told you during the episode, but I think you're one of the main guys that inspired me to get into this. So thanks to you again.
That means the world to me. Thank you so much. And like, I've seen the lineup of people on here, and stoked to be a part of it. And I think we talked about it before. I don't know if it was on the podcast, but get some more filmers on here. Like, there's like, I mean, you covered a lot of the ones. Like, I'm like always fired up on like I don't know if you like the Sean Logans, the Friedel, Berman.
It's definitely a goal to have people from all,
or photographers.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Photographers have those stories of like how the different crews operate. And
dude, having Felix Ryu, I think he's the only photographer I've had, but having him on was such a gem, because he was in extreme sports before free skiing even existed, so he had so much good stuff.
Alex O'Brien would be good. I don't know if he would do it. I think I would love to get a Chris O'Connell one.
Yeah, from everyone I've heard that I've worked with him, he's a legend.
He's a national treasure. He's funny. He's got more knowledge of that, like the generation we talked about that came before mine. Like, yeah, I should give him a little nudge, but I would love to hear like some of the things he says. And also, he's just hilarious. So I mean, what a good guest.
And wanted to congratulate you also, man. Like, going through all the stuff you've done, even recently, the X Games being edits, the fucking dude, there's so many stuff that you're still involved in that I see your name and I'm like, fuck yeah, he's still contributing to skiing.
That means a lot. I owe so much to, I mean, my entire life would be in a different place if it wasn't for skiing. I feel like I truly mean like I owe so much back to like the sport, and I love helping out or like being involved, or just like I feel like it's just part of me. I have to like keep piping in because it's just like, yeah, it's just part of who I am.
And do you have any details on the Wallisch project you're working on? Is there release dates or any infos that you can put out?
It's not releasing until at least the fall. Okay. I kind of did it because I got my favorite editor on board, which is Brady Perrin.
Nice.
I was like trying to shoot and be a little bit more Brady style inspired, and I just can't wait. I'm sorry, Brady, I'm not putting pressure on you, but like I know he doesn't like that, but he's so good about like his assembly of a ski project, and just like such a unique style. So that man is a busy man and high in demand in skiing. So I don't have like a strict we don't have like a strict time. I'm just like, I want you to be able to, I want to shoot it, but I want you to cut it, and kind of just waiting for him to, he's got so many projects going on with Monster at the moment, and the project will be for Monster. So
yeah, it's so sick to see his touch. Like Henrik did a solo part last season, and then Brady dropped a few weeks back a cut called Lo and Behold, like reusing those same shots but with the Brady vibe. And it was so awesome to see like the two different approaches you could have for the same shots.
Back to the team movie thing, and I feel bad I missed this, but Monster.
Yeah, dude, that would be something.
I mean, because they so support every individual, but they're a company that like, I mean, I wouldn't be. They're just. I feel like they're supporting skiing in the absolute right ways. I feel like there's not really they have the right people, the right diversity. They have decent support that they can make some of these dudes' projects happen, and not like, I mean, they're the reason I got on board in those projects, and like, I'm stoked for what they're doing in skiing, and I hope I like do more stuff with them. But like, look at all the little projects they're putting together, like the skiers they're supporting, and I feel like brands that like trust the skiers to like release whatever they want to do versus like dictate, like a competitor would be like a Red Bull is. I feel like they probably come at you more like, hey, here's a concept, or they're very conceptual, or it has to fit a specific style. But they like really support these skiers being like individuals and doing what they want to do with budget. And that's something throughout the years when I was filming, like I feel like everyone wanted, or it's just cool if somebody's doing something like that. Like
enabling someone's vision.
Yeah, enabling someone's vision and not like tweaking it, or like, I bet whatever Brady and I end up with that cut, like it's not like, oh, we have to add this or that. It's like they entrust Brady to like go do your cool shit and do your cool shit. And in this day and age, in like freelance, there's so much just painful revisions and changes and just beating up the creative process. And it's cool when you pipe back into an industry like this, where like the creative matters, and like the people really trust your vision. Like some people are like, here's some budget, go make a movie. And the person cutting the check isn't even involved until they show up at the premiere. And like, that's kind of risky, but like, that's how much like people trust people in this industry. So,
yeah. So maybe to close it off, I know we haven't touched on it. We really focused on skiing, but what has Kyle Decker been up to outside of skiing? What are you up to these days?
I'm a dad.
Your dad, your husband,
dad, T-ball coach, you name it. But no, it's cool. Like I have this, like I've grown it as a person, and like have, this incredible family. I live in California in the Bay Area. Being a dad is like indescribable, like joys and challenges, and like shapes you as a person. But like I got Skylar and Weston, like you get to hang out with these kids and like hopefully raise them to be good kids, skiers. But like it's crazy though, like can go like I was on that Keegan trip and I'm shooting this like some of the gnarliest skiing and just like, you know, all this like debauchery that happens outside of like, you're just like random driving around or whatever goes into a street trip. And I got back and the next day I'm like assistant coach on my son's t-ball team. And I'm just like looking around and I'm just, you know, it's like 70 degrees and I'm just like, I literally am able to like, those 2 trips are like a time capsule into my past. And I don't know of any other, how many other vehicles there are to like do that. Like I literally did not change one bit. When I'm on those trips, I'm 100% the exact same person I was. And I come here and I'm 100% a dad in a completely different version of myself, but I can still like transport into that. And it's like, it's definitely always a delicate balance, but I'm still fine tuning the family, fun, and work balance.
Yeah. It's a way of time traveling, kind of.
Dude, for those of you that are listening that are like deep in it, and those of you deep in it might not even be this deep in the podcast, but like, just don't take for granted. I feel like not that I took for granted, but like how special the community is there's just nothing like it, and just like how lucky we are to have it. And thank you for everyone that's like listening, that's been a part of my like journey, whether it's an athlete, a team manager, a photographer. Like it's just insane what like special community free skiing is, and like don't ever take that shit for granted and support the cool shit that's out there.
Yeah, you got to enjoy the good days while you're in the good days.
Yeah, totally. Like you don't realize the grass is always green, you know, you don't realize it until after, and you look back and you're like, damn, like
the grass was green.
Yeah. And you're just always worried about these little nuances that don't really matter, but like sit back and think big picture, and like how lucky are you to be running around on a snowmobile shooting backcountry with your buddies? Like what the hell?
Yeah.
Somebody pays you to do that? Like that's the most insane thing ever.
Yeah.
And so
thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it.
Dude, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, dude.
Yeah. And get some good skiing with your white walkers. Hopefully we'll get some Instagram clips of you.
Yep.
And yeah, man, hyped to see the 2 projects when they'll come out this fall.
Cool. Yeah, I'll send you a little tease if I have anything early, but nothing's even been thrown into premiere yet, so we got some time. The other Keegan one is just I'm just supporting his those clips are going into his segments. That wasn't like a one-off, so. But,
hyped.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
Cheers. So this is it for episode 47 with Kyle Decker. Thanks to Access Board Shop and Dickens Restaurants, and thanks to the patrons on Patreon. Peace.